Chapter 50 to 82. Su Mu was worried, so she personally drove her back. Master Ching stood at the handrail on the second floor of the mall and watched Sister Hong leave. He felt a little upset. They had already broken up, so why did he still care what she thought of him? It wasn't like he hadn't seen him like this before. What was so strange about it? However, he still felt guilty. He felt that when she saw him today, there was a deep hatred in her eyes. Master Chung was also stung by that gaze. He didn't let go of the little model in front of her, but deliberately provoked her. Master Cheng's eyes turned red. He thought that something was wrong. They were living quite well in the past. He was the one who messed around, but when she asked about marriage, he exploded and wanted to break up. In the past, he probably despised her for not being able to get pregnant. Actually, he didn't care much about a child, but he was afraid of being restricted. She was pregnant and was going to get married soon. Master Ching took out a cigar and a mall worker came over to persuade him, "Sir, we don't allow cigars here. You can go to the smoking area." Master Ching glanced at him. He originally wanted to beat this blind man up, but then he thought about it. If he did that, he would be looked down upon by that woman, Lu Hong. She already disliked him for being a boorish man. Yes, he was an uncouth man, which was why they broke up. If he had the awareness of a gigolo like Professor Lin and knew how to coax women, they wouldn't have ended up like this. Master Ching felt bad and didn't have the mood to smoke anymore. At that moment, the little model came over and pestered Master Ching, saying that she hadn't bought him a gift yet. Master Ching threw a check at her and said, "Take it, don't bother me anymore." The little model was dumbfounded. This was a breakup fee? Master Ching didn't want her anymore? Master Ching clearly liked her a lot before, so why did he abandon her like that? She didn't believe it. However, she had no choice but to believe it. Master Ching didn't even look at her and left, shaking his head. The little model lowered her head and looked at the check. It was 2 million. After accompanying Master Ching for a month, 2 million was worth it. She vaguely felt that there was a woman in Master Cheng's heart, the one just now. Otherwise, why would he not want her anymore? Master Cheng was indeed unhappy in his heart. He thought that he could forget it, but every time he met that woman, Lu Hong, his heart felt as if it was being cut by a knife. He let out a long sigh, got into his car, and drove until he reached Sister Hong's apartment. Coincidentally, Su Mu's car drove away, so Master Ching knew that Sister Hong was at home. He sat in the car and smoked a cigar. Then he went upstairs weakly. Sister Hong probably expected him to come, so she opened the door for him and politely asked, "What's the matter?" This politeness made Master Cheng's heart ache. He looked inside. "Your man isn't here?" Sister Hong let him in. She was pregnant now and couldn't handle Master Cheng going crazy. This might be her only chance. When Master Cheng went in, he looked around and found that there was no more man's shoes here. He smiled happily. "Is that pretty boy inferior to me? Is that why you never let him come?" Sister Hong didn't say anything. She just held her stomach and walked to the sofa to sit down. "Pour yourself some water if you want a drink." He was stung by her actions. She was pregnant, and the child wasn't his. What was he so proud of? He was a useless man. Useless. Chapter 50 to 83. Master Cheng's eyes reddened. He walked over and squatted down in front of her, leaning his head over. "Lu Hong, am I useless? I'm not a man." If he had gotten her pregnant back then, there would have been nothing left for the Lin family. Now, she wouldn't have to become someone else's wife, and he wouldn't have to feel so bad. No matter how many women there were, they couldn't fill the hole in his heart. That hole was getting bigger and bigger. It hurt. Ever since Master Cheng's debut, he had been pierced countless times. However, he had never frowned. But now it was different. It was quite painful. Sister Hong didn't push him away. She said softly, "Cheng Zheng, it's not because of the child. You will still do things to me even if you have a child. I gave you a chance and let go of my bottom line." She sat on the sofa and recalled the things she didn't want to recall. "At that time, on the nights you didn't come back, I would think about where you were, which women were by your side, and whether they were younger and prettier than me. That's why you didn't come home. I also thought that if I gave you some time, you might be able to think it through and whether you wanted to be with me. Cheng Zheng, do you think I don't hurt? Do you think I'm invulnerable? I'm just an ordinary woman. A woman who had a miscarriage and a divorce because of her husband's betrayal. Yes, I'm not young and good-looking anymore, and I don't want to fall in love with a man like you. Really, I'm much more tolerant of you than Zhang Fucai. It's not because you're richer than him, but because I think you're like a child who hasn't grown up yet. I don't think you've thought it through. Cheng Zheng, you didn't want me before that day came. It's like throwing away any woman you've been tired of in the past, without mercy. Sister Hong sat there and said quietly. Her face was also calm. However, every single sentence was like a stab into Master Cheng's heart. Master Cheng had never heard her say these things. He had always thought that she was free and easy. At least, when she said she wanted to break up, she didn't hesitate and was even more decisive than a man like him. Sister Hong smiled. Cheng Zheng, I'm telling you this not because I want to get back together with you, but because I want you to know that it's impossible between us. It's impossible under any circumstances. Master Cheng's heart was thumping. He half knelt on the ground and suddenly burst into tears. An old man was shedding tears. However, Sister Hong was indifferent because her tears had already dried up when he went out to fool around. At that time, he was playing outside and she really couldn't wait any longer, so she drove over. Through the crack in the door, she saw him hugging one in his left hand and the other in his right, smiling happily. Our ending was so unbearable. I just wanted to end it with dignity. Cheng Zheng, it's not as peaceful as you think. You're just used to others obeying you. You only care about your own feelings and don't care about others. Maybe you think you love me, but if you love me, how could you bear to hurt me like that? Sister Hong shook her head and said softly, So, don't come again. I will marry Professor Lin after this child is born. Master Cheng was stunned. He did not speak for a long time. Sister Hong's voice sounded a little tired. Cheng Zheng, can we part on good terms? I'm pregnant. I only have one chance. I'm begging you, don't come again, she said softly. Kongwen won't be happy either. Chapter 50-84. This was the first time in Master Cheng's life that he felt a knife stabbing into his heart. He wanted to speak, but the words were stuck in his throat, and he couldn't say a single word. He just felt terrible after a long, long time. He asked a ridiculous question. Do you like me more or him more? Sister Hong sat there and looked at the scenery outside the floor-to-ceiling window. She said softly, At my age, it's no longer about liking, it's just about whether I'm suitable or not. Cheng Zheng, do you understand? Master Cheng slowly stood up, knowing that things had reached a point where there was no turning back. He walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and stood there silently for a while before saying in a hoarse voice, Lu Hong, you might think it's funny that I'm saying this, but you're the first woman I've ever regretted leaving. I don't know if that's love. Maybe I don't understand love at all. Otherwise, why would I hurt your heart time and time again? He came over again and squatted in front of her, looking up at her face. He reached out as if he wanted to touch her face, but in the end, he retracted his hand. His voice was hoarse. I'm sorry for making you so sad. If you want to be with that pretty boy, if you feel that you're that happy, then marry him. I promise I won't do anything to him, and I won't disturb you again. Sister Hong's nose was a little sore as she lowered her head. Thank you. Master Cheng's breathing became hot, and his voice was hoarse. What are you thanking me for? I'm such a bastard. Why are you thanking me? As he said that, he remembered that he couldn't get her pregnant and punched the sofa angrily. Fortunately, he still had some self-control and didn't hit her side. After venting the anger in his heart like that, he really didn't have the face to stay any longer and left quickly. After he left, Sister Hong walked to the floor-to-ceiling window and looked outside. She couldn't tell if she had loved Cheng Zheng before, but she was probably obsessed with money and his so-called manliness. She only felt that when he coaxed her, she was very happy, but when he turned around and hugged another woman, she was very sad. Even now, it still hurt a little. Sister Hong laughed softly, laughing a little self-deprecatingly. Master Ching said that he wouldn't appear in her life anymore, but she would always run into him. Often, he would park his car downstairs, but he would not go upstairs to look for her, nor would he look for her phone. He would park there for an entire night. Sister Hong didn't know what he meant and didn't want to talk to him. After a long time, he probably lost interest and didn't come for a week. Sister Hong heaved a sigh of relief, thinking that he wouldn't come. She was still in good health. Occasionally, she would have tea with Su Mu or go to a concert with Professor Lin. They were just like ordinary friends, without any intimacy. He was giving Sister Hong time, and Sister Hong was also giving him time to think things through. It's one thing not to have children, it's another thing to raise someone else's. After the concert, Professor Lin sent Sister Hong home. The car slowly drove to her building and saw Qing Zheng's car parked there. Sister Hong felt a headache coming on. He hadn't come for a week, and now he had to continue. Professor Lin pondered for a moment. "Do you want me to leave?" "No," she said suddenly. "You can stay here with me. Just clean up the guest room." Professor Lin looked at her and agreed. He opened the car door and got out. Then he walked over to Sister Hong's side and opened the car door. "Be careful." Chapter 52:85. He opened the car door and opened the door for Sister Hong. "Be careful." Sister Hong's stomach was a little big. She carefully got out of the car with Professor Lin supporting her. They looked like a loving couple. Master Ching sat in the car and watched them quietly. His eyes were bloodshot. After a long time, he slammed his hand on the steering wheel and the car let out a sharp screech. It was late at night, so it was very abrupt. Professor Lin asked softly, "Why don't I talk to him? It's not good to keep waiting at your door like this." Sister Hong held her stomach and smiled bitterly. "I'll move to another place tomorrow." Professor Lin didn't say anything. Actually, they all knew that moving to another place wouldn't work. Master Chung would still be able to sneak in. Sister Hong really moved to a bungalow. The villa wasn't big, but it was very cozy. She felt that it was very suitable for childbirth. Du Meili and Sumu came over and looked around. They both praised Sister Hong's good taste. "It's mainly about money. Let the professionals do the design." Sister Hong smiled and looked around. It was also very full. When Sister Hong went upstairs, Sumu looked at Du Meili. "I heard that when Sister Hong fainted, you and Chief Editor Zhang were the ones who sent her to the hospital?" Du Meili nodded. "Yes, I was terrified." Sumu looked around and said, "This child isn't Professor Lin's, right?" Du Meili was dumbfounded. She pretended not to know and said while drinking water, "It should be Professor Lin's. Otherwise, did Sister Hong find another man outside?" Sumu's voice was indifferent. "It's Qing Zheng's, isn't it?" As Du Meili drank the water, her big eyes darted left and right, unable to hold herself back. Sumu was still staring at her. She didn't ask anymore. She could roughly guess the answer. Sumu looked up. "Professor Lin is quite affectionate." Du Meili sighed. "Yeah, he's a good man. He's not like the dead man before me. He said that he wanted to break up with me the moment he heard that I was in trouble. He was blind." Sumu comforted her for a while. When Sister Hong came down, they would stop talking. Since Sister Hong didn't say anything, Sumu could only pretend not to know. But later on, she also saw Master Chung. Like a wolf dog, he snuck over to Sister Hong's place and guarded the door. In the courtyard on a winter day, Sister Hong was 5 months pregnant and was basking in the sun on the recliner. Sumu brought Cymbidium chinense over to play. The little Cymbidium chinense was glowing happily, and the two women were chatting while lying down. Sumu's gaze landed outside the villa. There was a car parked outside. She coughed softly. "The security here is quite good." Sister Hong raised her eyes slightly. "Really? Are you talking about Chungzheng?" Sumu smiled and then sighed. "Sister Hong, you and him have really missed each other." Sister Hong said sadly, "I'm quite good now. Really, it's quite good. Planting flowers and raising fish. We'll see when the child is born. Maybe I'll marry Professor Lin, or maybe I'll just raise the child alone." She said rather casually, "It doesn't matter whether I get married or not." "Of course," Sumu wouldn't persuade her. How could she not know Qingzheng's character? She just didn't expect him to be so affectionate. Sister Hong was already pregnant, and he thought that it was Professor Lin's child. He even guarded it all day long. Did he have nothing to do? Sister Hong said fiercely, "I'll just be a watchdog. Love is here, love is here. There's no more for tonight. I'll try to update tomorrow." Chapter 52-86. Sumu was speechless. At that time, Sister Hong and Qingzheng seemed to have a good relationship. At that time, when Sister Hong mentioned Qingzheng, she always looked at him with disdain. However, Sumu could feel that Sister Hong liked him very much, the kind of person who loved Qingzheng as a man. Qingzheng had so many flaws that she couldn't even count them all. However, those flaws were very cute. This was probably what Sister Hong liked about him. However, she didn't expect that one day they would come to this. Sister Hong was pregnant with Qingzheng's child, but she said it was someone else's. Sumu respected Sister Hong's choice. If Sister Hong was unwilling, she wouldn't tell Qingzheng about it. She just felt a little regretful. In the past, when Sister Hong and Qingzheng were together, they were really happy. When Sumu left, the car stopped at Master Cheng's place. Master Cheng squatted in front of the car like a wolf. Now, he no longer smoked cigars. Sumu lowered the car window. "It's useless even if you squat here for a year. Sister Hong won't be soft-hearted." This was the truth. Later on, Sumu found out about their relationship. Qingzheng had gone too far. Sumu smiled. "Let's go have a cup of coffee." Master Cheng didn't say anything. He put out the cigarette, opened the door, and got into her car. His own car was still at Sister Hong's door, which meant that he was going to come again. Sumu drove and smiled. "Qingzheng, why do you have to do this?" Master Cheng clenched his fist. "I've thought about it. As long as this woman doesn't get married, I'll stay here. Who knows, one day the iron tree will bloom." Sumu found it funny. After a moment of silence, she said, You don't mind raising someone else's son? I thought you would mind." This really hurt Master Cheng. He felt sad. After a long time, he said, "I don't care. As long as she doesn't get married, she's my woman." Sumu smiled. "You did a good job in entering the university." Master Cheng's voice was still gruff. "There's nothing wrong with that, right? That man called Lin Conwen is too much of a scumbag. Lu Hong is pregnant, but he still doesn't want to marry her. If she gives birth to a child, people will gossip about her. If you ask me, this kind of man is especially unreliable. Why don't she marry me? I'll raise her son for free." Sumu almost laughed out loud. How desperate must Qingzheng be to think of such a thing? She quietly drove for a while before asking softly, "Actually, you like Sister Hong very much, right?" Godfather Cheng's face was a little red. "I don't like her. She would stay here for 2 months at a time. I haven't touched a woman for a few months. What do you think I'm after? She's good. She doesn't even give me a good look every day. Even if she's a beggar, she would at least give me a bowl of rice. She's really heartless." As Master Cheng spoke, he felt sad for himself. Sumu didn't say anything more. The car drove to a cafe. Master Cheng didn't want to get out of the car for a long time. "Can't we drink tea? I don't know why you women like to drink such bitter things so much. Isn't it just a show off?" Sumu pursed her lips and said softly, "Qingzheng, if 2 people are together, they have to tolerate and accept each other." Master Cheng's eyes widened. "Mumu, don't put on an act with me. Didn't you say that I didn't accommodate Lu Hong? I was also very good to her at that time. You're giving her money, right?" Sumu said softly, "Do you think that's enough?" Chapter 50-87. It's free to read. Master Cheng touched his big head and didn't say anything for a long time. He just smiled. Master Cheng touched his big head and didn't say anything for a long time. He just chuckled. Sumu parked the car and unfastened her seatbelt. "Let's go have a cup of coffee." Master Cheng looked at her and finally agreed. They went in together, and Sumu ordered 2 cups of coffee. Master Cheng looked at her skilled and elegant look and smiled. "I still remember what you were like when you were a child. Now you are also amazing. You look like a strong woman. Sumu took a sip of coffee and also smiled. Women always want to live a better life. I do, and so does Sister Hong. Master Chung was a little unconvinced. Isn't she living a good life? She has money to spend, and a lot of people serve her. Isn't it impressive enough to look at her? Yes, people in the underworld call her sister-in-law. It's quite impressive. Su Mu smiled softly. But Cheng Zheng, when you looked for the little girl, it was equivalent to slapping her in the face. At that time, how could she still be impressive? Master Cheng didn't say anything. After a long time, he said in a rough voice, "If I looked for the little girl, she would naturally leave." Yes, she would leave. Su Mu said quietly, "But if you don't look for her, as long as you say that you don't want her, I think Sister Hong won't cling to you." What's the situation now? Cheng Zheng, it's you who can't let her go now. It's you who wants to be with her, isn't it? Master Cheng let out a long breath. I'm a jerk. So, a woman can't be with money. Didn't Sister Hong return the hundreds of billions of yuan to you? Su Mu asked truthfully. Cheng Zheng, you have to be reasonable. Master Cheng was very rude. If you say that I should be reasonable, then let me tell you. What else can be reasonable? If I was reasonable, she would have run away long ago. She's not yours now. Su Mu said very softly. Master Cheng was a little absent-minded. After a long time, he lowered his eyes and said, Mumu, you stabbed me in the heart. Su Mu smiled. Does it hurt? Cheng Zheng, believe me, Sister Hong is in 100 times more pain than you. Master Cheng turned his head away. If she didn't turn around, she would have found a gigolo and even gave birth to a child. What's there for her to be in pain? It's nowhere as painful as me. Su Mu was still smiling. Cheng Zheng, be reasonable. I don't want to be reasonable. Master Cheng raised his head, and there was a glimmer of light in his eyes. I've traveled all over the world, and I've never been defeated by anyone, nor have I felt sorry for anyone. I'm free and unrestrained. But after I met her, I couldn't live a comfortable life. I felt uncomfortable leaving her here, and I regretted throwing her away. Now I want her, but I can't get her back. Mumu, do you think I'm sick? Su Mu didn't know what to say. She quietly sipped her coffee and said after a long time, Cheng Zheng, you can only wait. Wait for Sister Hong to forgive you. Perhaps it's still possible. Don't pester her anymore. It's useless. Master Cheng felt very uncomfortable. How is it useless?
Su Mu, you bastard.
Tell me why it's useless. Su Mu stopped talking. If she said anything more, it would be revealed. In the end, it was Master Cheng who paid the bill. Su Mu said that she would give him a ride, but he choked and said that he wanted to be alone. Okay, then think about it carefully. Do you want to give Sister Cheng a way out? Su Mu said very softly. Then she left first. Master Cheng sat there alone and thought about life. After sitting for a long time, he walked out. Unfortunately, he happened to see Professor Lin drinking coffee with a girl. Professor Lin's expression was very gentle, and the girl was also very beautiful. Master Cheng was a little confused. Chapter 50, 288. Master Cheng was stunned when he saw it. What a gigolo. Lu Hong was pregnant with a child, and this gigolo was dating a woman? Master Cheng was going to beat this pretty boy until he couldn't find his bearings anymore. Therefore, Master Cheng didn't say anything. He grabbed Professor Lin's collar and punched him. The woman screamed, Why are you hitting me? All right, Lin, you've grown up. You're cheating on your wife. Master Cheng gritted his teeth. Today, I'll do justice on behalf of the heavens. Professor Lin was a scholar. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't handle Master Cheng's beating. After a few punches, his face was swollen. Master Cheng was still angry and wanted to hit the woman. The woman had already called the police and called Professor Lin's parents. Now, Master Cheng wanted to catch her. It was like an eagle catching a chick. Professor Lin screamed, That's my cousin. Cousin Lin's face turned pale, and she started crying. Master Cheng was stunned. He looked down at the girl in his hands, and then at Professor Lin. Her face was swollen and he couldn't tell if she looked like her. Master Chung was a rough man. Although his face was red, he didn't lose. You didn't say it clearly. Besides, I don't know if it's true or not. Cousin Lin cried and shouted. Are you out of your mind? You hit my cousin every time you catch him. Also, my cousin doesn't have a wife. You're crazy. Master Chung snorted. Isn't Lu Hong his wife? She's pregnant now. Cousin Lin was stunned. Cousin, why haven't I heard of this? Professor Lin was in a mess. Sister Hong was pregnant. He naturally couldn't tell his parents that it was his child. So, his family didn't know about Sister Hong. He wanted to develop their relationship and wait until the child was born. He was also married twice. So, it wasn't a problem for Sister Hong to have a child. But now there was a problem. It didn't matter if he got beaten up. But it was important that Cousin Lin called the police. Think about it, if his parents came, how would he explain it? Without his explanation, Chung Zheng had already picked up the phone with a dark expression. Lu Hong, I've beaten up your pretty boy. I'm going to the police station later. Also, I want to ask you, why don't the Lin family know about you? Tell me, is the child in your stomach mine? I just wanted to find a ready-made father for the child, so I found this gigolo. Everyone was watching the show. Professor Lin was embarrassed, and Cousin Lin was stunned. At this moment, the people from the police station had arrived. The Lin family's parents had also arrived. Master Chung and Professor Lin went to the police station to record their statements. Professor Lin wanted to let it go, but Papa Lin and Mama Lin were unwilling. Even Grandpa Chung was unwilling. He was panicking. The child might be his, and he had beaten the scapegoat's father. At this moment, he wished that he could squat in there for 10 days to half a month. Thinking about Sister Hong's effeminate face that night, Master Chung really felt that the inside was pretty good. All the Lin family's parents scolded him, but he also chuckled foolishly. Only when Sister Hong came over did his eyes turn red, just like a big wolf dog. Of course, Sister Hong ignored him and asked if Professor Lin was okay. Professor Lin sighed. I'm fine. But you're not fine. Sister Hong's pregnant belly shocked Papa Lin and Mama Lin. They remembered that their son had a girlfriend a while ago. But according to the time, it wasn't possible for her to have such a big belly. Chapter 50-89. Memorize. The only possibility was that the child was that rough-looking man's. Moreover, it was the one that beat up his son. Father Lin and Mother Lin's voices trembled. This child isn't considered our Lin family's, right? Seeing that they didn't want to admit it, Master Chung felt that his woman had been insulted. He snorted coldly. Bah, if your Lin family is so capable, can you have a child? That's my seed. The last sentence sounded very confident, but it was actually a little lacking in confidence. Sister Hong only glanced at him. The child is mine. These words were quite subtle. Although it was a denial, it was also equivalent to denying that it was a gigolo. In that case, other than Master Chung, no one else had the ability to do so. Master Chung did not dare to look at Sister Hong. He whispered, I will take responsibility. Sister Hong coldly snorted. Why do I need you to take responsibility for my own child? Master Chung was a little scared and lowered his head. Sister Hong spoke to Papa Lin and Mama Lin politely. Papa Lin and Mama Lin tried to sound out Sister Hong, afraid that the child would be implanted by their son. Professor Lin was a little embarrassed, and his heart ached for Sister Hong. He had interacted with Sister Hong for a period of time and knew her personality. He let out a long sigh. He knew that he had no chance. Professor Lin's parents felt sorry for their son and hated scum like Master Chung. They tried to persuade her with kind words. Miss, I see that you are also a person of status. You can't mix around with such a man. Sister Hong smiled. I won't bail him out. Master Chung also hurriedly said, No need, no need. I'm fine squatting in there. This place is suitable for scum like me. The members of the Lin family were at a loss for words. Miss Lu looked quite generous and owned a newspaper office. How could her taste be so unique? In the end, Grandpa Chung called Xiao Mao over and kindly escorted Professor Lin to the hospital. During this period, Professor Lin had been taking care of his wife and son for him. It was very tiring. Master Cheng generously gave out 5 million yuan, which was really scary. Thus, Father Lin and Mother Lin knew that this boorish man was rich. It was true that as long as one was rich, he could get any woman he wanted. They weren't from the same world, so they couldn't be bothered. Father Lin and Mother Lin didn't ask for money and left with their son. When Professor Lin left, he sighed softly. Sister Hong felt a little apologetic. However, given the current situation, she definitely couldn't say that the child was Professor Lin's. No one would believe her even if she did. Moreover, she was not naive enough to think that as long as the two people loved each other, it would be fine. There were too many ways in marriage. When everyone had left, Xiao Mao happily said, "Sister-in-law, you and our Master Cheng have made up, haven't you?" Sister Hong did not even look at Master Cheng. "I have nothing to do with him." Master Cheng squatted in the corner. "I'll do a good job. Wait for me with the child." The police officer couldn't take it anymore. "You're just going to be locked up for 8 to 10 days. How dare you say that?" Sister Hong directly left, not bothering with them at all. Master Cheng grinded his teeth, and after a while, he grinned and said, "Xiao Mao, send your sister-in-law off. When I come out, I'll give you a reward." Xiao Mao was very happy and immediately followed. Master Cheng rubbed his head and squatted down in relief. Wasn't it just 8 to 10 days? After this period of time, Sister Hong's temper would also subside. It was just right for him to move into her villa. Thinking about how he had a wife and a child, Master Cheng's heart was especially happy. However, it was really wishful thinking. Sister Hong didn't even bother with him. Master Cheng came out from inside. He was full of vigor, especially in that area. He even listened to Xiao Mao's suggestion and bought a bouquet of flowers before going to Sister Hong's place. Chapter 5290. Sister Hong stood in the yard, looking at the man who had climbed over the wall. Master Cheng had taken a shower and changed his clothes. Oh, what a spirited young man. He had brought flowers and supplements to visit his wife and child. He even brought a huge diamond ring. But there was nothing. Where was he? Master Cheng threw the flowers aside and patted Xiao Mao's head. "Where is he? I asked you to look after him. Where did he go?" Xiao Mao rubbed his head. "He was here last night." Master Cheng thought for a moment. "Oh, he must have gone back to his old home. I also said that it's inconvenient to live upstairs and downstairs in this villa. It's better to live on the big floor." Master Cheng went over. Sister Hong had indeed moved back. But she wasn't at home. She had gone to the news agency. Master Cheng was shy and didn't want to look for her, so he sat in the car and waited. It wasn't until 8 p.m. that the chauffeur sent Sister Hong back. She didn't usually go to the news agency, but she had to go today because of the bonus. Sister Hong looked at Master Cheng and smiled. "You're out?" Master Cheng said respectfully, "Madam, I'm back." Sister Hong held her stomach and smiled. "Who's your wife?" She walked towards the elevator with Master Cheng following behind her like a wolf dog. Sister Hong paused. "Don't follow me, it's useless." Master Cheng smiled cheekily and followed her shamelessly. In the elevator, Sister Hong held a bag in her hands and looked up at the red numbers on the screen. Then, she said softly, "Unless you want the child to miscarry, you really shouldn't follow me." "Miscarry?" Master Cheng was stunned. He stammered, "It's not that serious. I'm this kid's father. He'll only be happy to see me. How could he miscarry? Besides, other than your stomach, where else can he go? I'm willing to take him in, but where do you think I should put him?" Master Cheng laughed mischievously. After saying that, he rubbed his head and laughed. Sister Hong looked at him as though she was looking at an idiot. After a long time, Sister Hong said softly, "Cheng Zheng, you still don't understand. It doesn't matter whose child it is." "How is it not important?" "It's especially important to me." Master Cheng's voice was a little hoarse. "Woman, why do you keep saying things to make me angry? You're already angry?" She smiled faintly. Just as Master Cheng was about to say something, the elevator door opened. Sister Hong swiped her card and went home. He also wanted to go in, but Sister Hong blocked the door. Chung, we're done. Master Chung was indignant as he growled. You're pregnant with my child, so you're my woman. And the child is mine too. Without me, how could you have a child? Sister Hong didn't want to talk to him. She lowered her eyes, her expression indifferent. Master Chung also felt a little uncomfortable. His voice was hoarse. Can't you give me another chance? You are the one who didn't want it. Sister Hong remained calm. Chung, do you think that you're the only one who doesn't have a temper? Depressed, he did not speak. After a long time, Sister Hong said in a low voice, Don't follow me. I won't be with you anymore. Master Chung was completely dumbfounded. In his rounding calculation, knowing that his son was as meant that the two of them had reconciled and raised this child together. It was a beautiful and harmonious life. In the future, he would never look for other girls and treat her well. Actually, after they parted, it would be the same. Instead of facing so many women every day, he might as well face her alone. Chapter 50-91. Actually, after separating from her, it would be the same. Facing so many women every day, it would be better to face her alone. Master Chung touched his head. Are you serious? Sister Hong pursed her lips and didn't say anything. Master Chung still wanted to squeeze into the apartment, but Sister Hong slammed the door hard. Perhaps because she was too emotional, her lower abdomen actually hurt. She held her stomach and frowned. Her forehead was covered in sweat. She bit her lip and used all her strength to open the door. Seeing the door open, Master Chung was happy at first. I knew you couldn't bear to leave me. But as soon as he finished speaking, he was a little confused. What was going on? Master Chung was completely confused. He held her and asked, Is the baby going to be born? Sister Hong wanted to kill him. She was only a few months pregnant. How could she give birth? Send me to the hospital, or else the baby will probably be miscarried. Sister Hong gritted her teeth and said, feeling the pain in her stomach. She was a little scared, and Master Chung was even more helpless. But thinking that this child was related to the happiness of the rest of his life, he carried Sister Hong downstairs without thinking. Fortunately, as a rough man, he still knew how to be tender and protective of the fairer sex, so he carried her smoothly. His car was big enough, so he carefully placed her down. Hold on tight, don't fall. After that, he quickly got into the car and drove to the nearest hospital quickly and steadily. Indeed, the baby was affected. If it had come a little later, the baby would have been gone. Master Chung heard the doctor's words and was stunned for a long time. Miscarriage. It must be very painful. Master Chung was stunned for a long time before he said softly, The baby is gone. I'll blow up your hospital. The doctor saw him acting like a gangster and was so scared that he immediately went to the operating room. Fortunately, the baby was saved, but he had to stay in the hospital for a few days. He had to be extra careful not to agitate the pregnant woman again. How would Master Chung dare to do that? He went to stay in the ward and asked Xiao Mao to find the best nutritionist to nourish his son and his woman. Xiao Mao was also quite speechless. What was Master Chung doing? Sister Hong was still unconscious, so how could she nourish her? Besides, in his opinion, Sister Hong might not be able to let Master Chung get close to her. This time, Sister Hong almost lost her child. She probably hated him to death. But little Mao still did as he was told. Master Chung stayed by Sister Hong's side, feeling a sense of regaining what he had lost. He sat there quietly. Just looking at her made him feel satisfied. This was his woman, pregnant with his child. Weren't they going to get married? Not. She could marry him however she wanted, and as many times as she wanted. Master Chung couldn't wait for her to wake up. He walked back and forth in the ward. He couldn't wait to get it done immediately. A long night is fraught with dreams. He waited for her to wake, but she did not sleep till morning. Master Chung grabbed the doctor and asked him what was going on. The doctor looked at him as if he was an idiot. Isn't it normal to sleep at night? Grandpa Chung scratched his head. I think so. It wasn't until 9 in the morning that Sister Hong woke up. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw Master Chung, who was clean-shaven and full of vigor, watching over her, except for some red lines under his eyes. She looked at him quietly. Master Chung was especially masculine. "You're awake. Let's eat something." It's all the recipes suggested by the top nutritionist. They said that it's nutritious and won't make you fat. You're only thin, so it's not bad to hug you. He said this shamelessly, but Sister Hong listened quietly without any expression on her face. Chapter 5292. Memorized. Seeing him, Sister Hong was really angry. He turned his face to the other side and said in a cold voice, "Get lost." When Master Chung saw this situation, he immediately rolled to the other side of her face. He didn't dare to provoke her, so he kept slapping himself in the face. "It's my fault. It's my fault. I'm sorry to you. Fine. You can do whatever you want to me, as long as you don't make yourself and the child suffer." Sister Hong quietly looked at him, her eyes a little red. Master Chung also felt that he was not a good person. His eyes were bloodshot, and his voice was a little rough. "If you don't want to see me, I'll leave. I only ask that you protect the child." He continued, "This child belongs to both of us. Perhaps we won't have another one in the future." As he said that, he felt a little sad as he wiped his eyes. "I don't like children, but I like the ones you gave birth to." Sister Hong was both angry and amused. She really didn't know what to do with him. She pursed her lips and said softly, "Chungzheng, if you also want to keep this child, then don't disturb me, okay? I'm afraid I really can't take it." Therefore, Master Chung agreed that she could do whatever she wanted. But how could he really leave? His wife and child were here, and he was worried. There was no place for him to squat in the ward. Master Chung spent some money to have the hospital prepare a single bed for him in the corridor. He squatted at the door during the day and slept there at night, afraid that something would happen to Sister Hong. The nurses in the hospital were terrified by his behavior, but this god of wealth threw a 5 million yuan card at the director's office, and the director accepted it with a smile, treating him like a god of wealth. Every day, the doctors and nurses looked at Master Chung as if they were looking at a new human being. Master Chung was a scumbag, and everyone in B City knew that. His cowardly look was both funny and infuriating. When Su Mu and Du Meili came over to see Sister Hong, they saw Master Chung squatting at the door. He couldn't wait for Sister Hong to open the door and see his infatuated look.
Su Mu was amused.
She coughed softly. "Chungzheng, do you eat, drink, and poop all over here?" Master Chung felt very wronged. "Yeah, there's a woman who won't let me in." Su Mu smiled. "It's your turn." Master Cheng's eyes were burning. He rubbed his rough hands and said, "Mumu, why don't you put in a few good words for me? Isn't Lu Hong the woman who listens to you the most? I'll thank you properly if you do this." "I can't afford it." Su Mu sneered. "You've done it yourself." Master Cheng touched his head. "I can't do it now, can I?" Su Mu sneered. "That's your own fault. Anyway, I only have one thing to say. Don't provoke Sister Hong." "How would I dare? I'm serving her like an empress dowager, but she doesn't appreciate it." Mr. Chung sounded wronged. Du Meili felt disgusted when she heard this. When you're looking for a girl, why don't you think about whether Sister Hong appreciates it or not? She actually has to thank you. Su Mu looked at Du Meili and felt that she was a good talker. Du Meili had to muster up her courage to say this. Master Cheng's temper was ferocious, so she didn't dare to offend him easily. But now that Master Cheng had a son, he was like an obedient cat. She couldn't help but bully him. Master Cheng wanted to explode, but then he thought of the person lying in the ward and sighed. "You guys go in. I can't go in anyway." As he said this, he squatted pitifully in a corner like a stray dog. Chapter 5293. Su Mu looked at him and felt that he was like Chung Zheng from back then. He squatted there without food and looked at others with eager eyes, hoping that they would give him food. She sighed in her heart. Chung Zheng wasn't a bad person and he liked Sister Hong too. However, he was used to being alone since he was young and did whatever he wanted. He didn't know how to love anyone. Now, he wanted to love her, but he had made an unforgivable mistake. Su Mu felt that Chung Zheng was a little pitiful, However, he was even more hateful. Of course, she wouldn't speak up for him. Sister Hong was a mature woman. Moreover, when Sister Hong was suffering in love, she was the one who endured it silently. She didn't have the right to speak up for Chengzheng. After entering, they closed the door. Master Cheng's gaze turned from fervent to disappointed as he squatted in the corner again. In the ward, Sister Hong looked at Gu Anqi and Du Meili and smiled. "I've let you guys watch a joke," Du Meili said fiercely. "Don't forgive him. Sister Hong, now that you have money, a figure, and a beautiful face, it's only a matter of time before you find a man with good taste. Don't ever think about getting involved with this uncouth man again. Chengzheng is like a piece of sticky candy. Once you stick to him, you can't get rid of him." Sister Hong drank the soup and smiled. "You're quite emotional." Du Meili sighed. "I'm doing it for your own good. Look at your current condition. I'm so jealous of you. Why bother with him? It's fine as long as you have money. You can't even spend it. Also, when you talk about life and ideals with him, he'll turn around and look for girls to piss you off." Sister Hong didn't say anything else and just drank the soup in silence. Sumu gave Du Meili a look and Du Meili said softly, "I'm sorry, Sister Hong. I accidentally said it. Don't take it to heart." Sister Hong smiled. "No, how could I?" "Oh, right. How's the club?" Du Meili explained the situation and Sister Hong nodded. "I'll have to trouble you and Zhang Futsai to be more careful. We'll work harder and try to get listed next year." Du Meili's eyes widened. "Really?" Sister Hong smiled. "Why would I lie to you? It's true. Do it well, and when the time comes, I'll give you some shares. You'll have everything, and men won't be that important anymore." Du Meili immediately revealed a look of yearning. Sister Hong was right. She was very excited for a moment, but Sumu could tell that Sister Hong was deliberately changing the topic. Sister Hong probably didn't want to talk about Chengzheng. However, Du Meili was a fool. She couldn't think of it at all. Sumu did not make a sound and quietly accompanied Sister Hong. Now that she had married into the Yi family, there were some things that Sister Hong relied on her for, so she would more or less discuss things with her. Du Meili tidied up the place and went to buy some fresh flowers to make Sister Hong feel better. After that, she looked at the ward with 3 bedrooms and 1 living room. She looked at what Sister Hong was wearing and the child in her belly. She felt that it was all worth it. A woman's life was worth it. It really didn't matter if she had a man or not. After Su Mu and Sister Hong finished their discussion, she accompanied them for a long time before leaving. Du Meili also had work to do, so she left with them. When only the nurse was left in the ward, Sister Hong finally calmed down and could properly think about the matter with Chengzheng. She knew that Chengzheng had been living in the corridor all this time. This was probably the most difficult time he had been in recent years. If one were to say that she was moved, she wasn't moved at all. How could a woman who had been hurt be moved? Chapter 5294. Updated quickly. He thought for a moment and called the nurse. "Ask Mr. Ching to come in for a moment." The nurse was stunned for a moment before replying softly, "All right, I'll call him." Sister Hong was still sitting there quietly, a little lost in her thoughts. When the nurse walked out, Master Chung was still squatting on the floor, looking pitiful. Seeing the nurse come out, Master Chung coughed lightly. "How's the person inside?" The nurse smiled. "He's asking you to go in." Master Chung was a little confused. "Are you really asking me to go in? You're not joking?" The nurse turned her head. "Forget it if you don't want to go in. It's as if he's begging you." Master Chung saw that it didn't seem like a joke, so he bent his back and went in. As soon as he entered, he smiled cheekily. "Did you miss me?" He closed the door and rubbed his hands excitedly. Sister Hong was much better now. She stood by the window in her white home clothes, carefully trimming a bunch of flowers in her hands. Master Ching stood a few steps away from her, looking at her greedily. In the past, he only felt that she wasn't pretty, but later on, he felt that she was charming. But now, he felt that she was like a little angel. Master Ching lowered his head, feeling embarrassed. She was already so old, but he still felt that she was cute. Perhaps it was because of the child in her stomach, so she looked younger than he was. Master Chung was immediately overjoyed, looking at his woman eagerly, his heart full of pride. Sister Hong probably guessed that he was behind her, so she said softly, "I called you here to tell you something." Master Chung touched his head. "Speak." Sister Hong lowered her eyes. "I'm preparing to be discharged, but before I leave, I have to make a promise with you." When Master Chung heard this, he thought that there was hope. He immediately stood up straight and said, "Which 3 chapters?"
Tell me.
"I'm sure I can do it." Sister Hong put down the scissors in her hand and turned her head. "Really, you can do it?" Master Chung puffed out his chest. "I'll be a dog if I lie to you. As long as Madam says it, I can do it in the future." Sister Hong looked at him and smiled. "Then I'll believe you this once." Master Chung excitedly rubbed his hands. "Then I'll help you get discharged. Where are we going to stay?" Sister Hong nodded. "Yes, where do you live?" "Chung Zheng, you have so many houses, but none of them is our home." Master Chung was a little stunned. These words didn't sound right. Sister Hong looked at him and said faintly, "These are the 3 things I mentioned." Master Cheng's heart was about to jump out of his chest. He looked at Sister Hong anxiously and said, "Speak." "First, you can't casually follow me," Sister Hong said softly. Master Chung was thoroughly dissatisfied. "What are you talking about? If I don't follow you, how can we be husband and wife?" "No one wants to be your wife. Chung Zheng, don't you understand?" Sister Hong was still indifferent. "Also, since you feel that you have a share in this child, you can see him. You can accompany me during my prenatal checkup, but we won't be together. After the child is born, you can come and see him once a week." When Master Chung heard that, he was unhappy. "Woman, aren't you being too much?" Sister Hong asked. "Is it too much?" Godfather Chung shouted. "How is this not too much? My son is mine. Why can I only see him once a week?" "Then how many times do you want to see him?" "I can arrange it," Sister Hong said softly. Master Chung looked at the woman in front of him as if he had lost his breath, then said softly, "Lu Hong, you're different from before." Chapter 50-95. She smiled out faintly. "That's right, it's different now. Ching Zheng, do you really think that I'll wait for you at home forever, waiting for you to come back smelling of perfume and pretend that nothing happened? Or, even though I know that you don't want to get married, I still want to be with you, because I don't think that you know what love is." Sister Hong's eyes were a little misty. "I've waited for you so many times, but this time around, I don't want to wait any longer." She continued calmly, "When the child is older, I can arrange for you guys to be together. For example, staying at your place for a few days. Chungzheng, I'll try my best to be fair to you. That's the biggest concession I can make." When Master Chung heard that, he gritted his teeth. "The biggest concession you can make? That sounds so civilized. It's easier to communicate with those gigolos of yours. I'm just a bore who doesn't understand such things. I'm just squinting my eyes. Something's not right. If you let the child stay with me for a while, are you going to find a man to enjoy yourself?" Sister Hong did not want to hear those vulgarities as she turned her head around and said softly, "Qingzheng, I'm still pregnant. Is that what you're saying?" Instantly, Master Chung sobered up. He thought about it and realized that he might have gone overboard. Then, he recalled what Su Mu had said about how he was always unwilling to accept Sister Hong's way of thinking and life. Was that the reason why they were arguing right now as well? She was educated while he was a bore. He could say whatever he wanted. With Sister Hong's back facing him, Master Chung regretted his actions and went over to check. Her nose was a little red. He was scared. Was she crying? Master Chung leaned over to take a look. Indeed, she was crying. Instantly, his heart felt really bad as he coughed out. "You're already an adult, and you're still crying? Besides, you were the one who bullied me earlier on, forcing me to sign such a humiliating treaty. Su Mu, tell me, which man would be able to take that?" Su Mu did not want to bother with him. She turned around and said softly, "Qingzheng, if you don't agree to it, I'll have to go overseas." "Overseas?" Master Chung was stunned. If he went abroad, he really couldn't do anything. His identity had long been restricted, and he didn't even know a few words of Chinese. How could he adapt to going abroad? Besides, there were still many of his brothers here. He couldn't just throw away such a big mess. Master Ching reached out and touched his head, feeling rather awkward. After a while, he asked, "Are you serious?" Sister Hong didn't say anything. She just stood there. She didn't cry, but her eyes were red. Master Ching suddenly felt very uncomfortable. After a long time, he said in a hoarse voice, all right, I'm afraid of you, old woman." "Isn't it just that we can't live together? Both your wife and child are mine. What's there to be afraid of?" But then he narrowed his eyes again. "But I won't allow you to interact with that gigolo, not even for a moment. If I find out, I'll take the child away." Sister Hong faintly said, "Chengzheng, are you still going to be so unreasonable?" "If I was unreasonable, I wouldn't have agreed to such a humiliating condition." "Lu Hong, don't push your luck. Let me tell you, I'm just a bore." Master Cheng recalled what Su Mu had said, and his voice got softer. "Actually, it's rare for me to accommodate someone like this." Sister Hong looked at him quietly and said indifferently, "Then, I'll thank you." Chapter 50-96. These words made Master Cheng's heart turn cold, an indescribable feeling. In the end, he said in a hoarse voice, "As long as you're happy." Master Cheng was probably really sad, so he turned around and left. He was still squatting at the door, silent for a long time. He knew that this time, he couldn't use shameless methods to make her stay. He knew Lu Hong's character quite well. If she said she didn't want it, then she really didn't want it. If she said she wanted to go abroad, then she would really go abroad. Master Chung didn't want his son to have a blonde foreigner as his father in the future, and he also didn't want Lu Hong to have a foreigner as her husband. Thinking about his own woman being together with a foreigner, Master Chung couldn't accept it. Okay, let's just stay and be city. Whatever she said was fine. Sister Hong didn't want him to live at her place, so it was easy. He just bought a similar apartment downstairs and lived upstairs and downstairs every day. Therefore, on this day, Master Ching drove her back and carefully helped her sit on the sofa. He then attentively poured her a glass of water and observed that the auntie here was reliable. Only then did he cautiously say in a very fawning manner, I'll go back first." Sister Hong looked at him and smiled faintly. "Okay." Master Ching added, "I live downstairs, call me if you need anything." Sister Hong's expression didn't look too good. Master Chung immediately said, "Tomorrow, I'll install a bell. If you want to see me or miss a man, I'll be on call." At this time, the auntie came over with a plate of fruit. She couldn't stand it anymore and coughed lightly. Master Chung immediately changed his words. "I mean, the child misses me, right?" Sister Hong quietly said, "You bought it downstairs. I remember there are people living downstairs. I offered double the price. Of course they were willing." Master Ching used money to solve the problem as usual, which made Sister Hong so angry that she didn't say anything and just lightly drank her tea. Seeing her like that, Master Ching realized that she hadn't talked to him in such a soft voice for a long time. For a moment, he actually had a desire in his heart, hoping that she could talk to him more, even if it was to scold him. Sister Hong didn't want to go crazy with him. After drinking half a cup of water, she said that she wanted to rest. The auntie helped her up. Master Cheng immediately said, "I'll do this kind of rough work." Sister Hong glanced at him, and he obediently stood still. He seemed to be at a loss as to what to do. The auntie helped Hong Jia into the bedroom. The auntie smiled. "Mr. Chung is such a big boy, but he's actually quite afraid of you." Sister Hong lay down comfortably and said, "He's not afraid of me. He's just guilty." After a moment of absent-mindedness, she said softly, "He's always been like this. When he gets better, he'll be like before." The auntie covered her with a blanket and said softly, "If you really can't accept it, you can live by yourself. Anyway, you have a child and you have money and status. You don't have to worry about not being able to find a good man." Sister Hong smiled bitterly. It was easier said than done. As long as Qingzheng kept pestering her, she would never be able to find a man. Now that she said that they would have a child in the future, it would be even uglier if they quarreled. Now that she was pregnant, she didn't want to think about these things.
It was good to be alone for the time being.
Seeing that she was lying down, the aunties settled everything before leaving. Master Chung was still standing there alone. He looked like a big cat. The auntie laughed. "Mr. Cheng, you haven't left yet?" Master Cheng's voice was a little soft and gentle. "Is she asleep?" The auntie nodded seriously. "Yes, she is." Chapter 50-97. Master Cheng touched his head. "That's good. How's the child?" The auntie laughed again. "How can you tell? The child is still young. Moreover, it's in the stomach. How can you tell with the naked eye?" Master Cheng nodded in agreement. "That's true." Then he thought about it again. The pregnancy checkup would be in half a month. He would accompany her there. Wouldn't he be able to see the baby then? Master Chung liked sons. Sons were strong and could withstand falling. After giving birth to a son, he would give birth to his most precious daughter. That way, the brother could protect his sister. But then, Master Chung thought bitterly. She couldn't even touch him. How could she give birth to a child? Master Cheng's heart was cold. While she was sleeping, he went downstairs. Xiao Mao was cleaning his new apartment. The apartment was decorated warmly. It was pink and girlish. It was a little funny for a man like him to live in it. But thinking about it, if Lu Hong came to see it one day, she would definitely be happy. Master Cheng sat on the sofa and asked Xiao Mao about the business. Xiao Mao told him in a soft voice. Master Cheng was stunned. "Why do you speak like a woman? Be more normal. How are you going to do big things in the future?" Xiao Mao immediately returned to normal. Master Cheng said, "That's more like it. Be like the people around me. Even though you're my people, don't act like eunuchs all the time. You're a joke." Xiao Mao felt wronged and said, "Oh." Master Cheng asked a few more questions before closing his eyes. "Be careful when you go out. That me guy ran away. You have to be careful." He was able to get to where he was today because he had a few tricks up his sleeve. Xiao Mao nodded and said confidently, "I've also sent people to protect Sister Hong. There are capable brothers on the upper floor 24 hours a day." Master Chung was surprised. He didn't even instruct Xiao Mao to do it. So he nodded.
"Good job.
You can do big things." Xiao Mao immediately said shyly, "Master Cheng just said that I'm like a eunuch." Master Cheng saw that he was coming again and kicked him. "Go and fuck, you're acting like this again. I'm so scared. You're like a woman." Little Mao laughed and walked over. "Do I lack women? Why don't you bring a few good ones over?" Master Cheng's eyes widened. "Don't you want to work anymore? You want to play with women? Your sister Hong lives upstairs. Then get a villa. Master Cheng can relax there when he has time." Xiao Mao suggested. It wasn't that he wasn't loyal to Sister Hong. It was just that men were like this. Sister Hong was pregnant, and she was ignoring Master Cheng. Master Cheng had always been a man with a big appetite. If they didn't get back together in a few years, Master Cheng would be a vegetarian for the next few years. That was absolutely impossible. Therefore, Xiao Mao was prepared to present the young girl to Master Cheng. Master Cheng rolled his eyes. "Did I say I wanted to relax?" He patted the sofa on both sides. "I'm here alone. You don't know how relaxed I am." Xiao Mao was dumbfounded. After a long time, he finally said, "Master Cheng, you're really going to be a vegetarian?" In the past, Master Cheng would feel weak if he didn't eat meat for a day. Recently, he had endured for a long time. How many more years did he want to endure? Would it work? Xiao Mao was skeptical. Master Cheng didn't really believe that he could control himself, but he wanted to give it a try. He said softly, "Xiao Mao, do you know? I'm happy, but I don't want your sister Hong to cry again." Xiao Mao was stunned. "Master Cheng, this is true love." Chapter 50-98. Master Cheng thought for a moment. "I don't know if it's love, and I don't understand these things either. I just don't want to see her cry. I feel uncomfortable seeing her cry, and I'm willing to do anything for her." It's that simple. Xiao Mao held it in for a while, then asked carefully, Master Cheng, you love Sister Hong as a brother. Think twice. After saying that, he retreated. Master Cheng stared at Xiao Mao blankly. Xiao Mao didn't dare to speak and just looked at Master Cheng. Master Cheng didn't say anything and took out a cigarette. After smoking for a long time, he said softly, I don't look for women, I don't play around. If I stay by her side every day, will I be able to touch her one day? Xiao Mao felt uncomfortable hearing that. Master Cheng was also a sentimental person. Master Cheng said again, Actually, I know that she looks down on me. I'm even more hateful than Zhang Fucai. Master Cheng smoked his cigarette, thinking about the woman upstairs. He couldn't calm down. His woman was upstairs, but he couldn't see or touch her. To Master Cheng, this was really a very uncomfortable thing. Xiao Mao persuaded from the side, After a long time, sister-in-law will change her mind. Is that so? Master Cheng smiled faintly. Why do I feel that she will never forgive me? He abruptly slapped himself in the face. Who asked you not to cherish her? Who asked you to fool around with women? Now, she doesn't care about you and doesn't forgive you. The child will still be seen once a week in the future. When she goes on vacation with the gigolo, you still have to take care of the child. Thinking about it, Master Cheng slapped himself again. Who asked you to not be able to control yourself? Who asked you to show off? You deserve it. Xiao Mao looked at him, thinking that Master Cheng was crazy. Master Cheng wasn't crazy. He just thought it through. In the following days, Master Cheng's work and rest were like 9 to 5. During the day, he would go home early after finishing his work. Sometimes, he would shamelessly go upstairs to eat. The Annie told him a few times that Sister Hong didn't want to see him. However, Master Cheng was so shameless that he refused to leave. The Annie couldn't do anything about it. Sister Hong came out of the room. Her belly was already quite big. She held her bag in her hand. I'm going for a checkup. Help me drive. When Master Cheng heard this, he jumped up and said, Okay, I'll be the coachman and take a look at what this kid looks like. Sister Hong didn't say anything, but the Annie's eyes secretly reddened. Really, he looked like a good father now. Why didn't he cherish him back then? Thinking that their relationship had improved, Master Cheng wanted to help Sister Hong, but Sister Hong faintly refused. I can walk by myself. Master Cheng was disappointed for a while, but he quickly forced a smile and said, Then be careful. It's not convenient for you to see the road with a big belly. Actually, it's better to support you. No one paid any attention to his rambling, and he didn't feel embarrassed at all. The Annie thought that this Mr. Cheng was not bad-looking, had a bad temper, and was especially thick-skinned. How did Miss Lu fall in love with him? Master Cheng trotted all the way to serve him. He looked even more like a lackey than Xiao Mao. He looked like a big brother, doing the work of a lackey, which was somewhat ridiculous. Sister Hong pursed her lips. All right, don't act like this. It's disgusting. Master Cheng touched his head. I thought you liked the feeling of being valued. Sister Hong cursed in her heart. She didn't say anything and just sat in Master Cheng's car. Master Cheng carefully fastened the seatbelt for her and said very cautiously, Be careful. You have to fasten the seatbelt in the back seat too. Chapter 52-99. Sister Hong looked at him and finally asked the question in her heart. Do you really want to have a son? Everything you're doing now is for this child. She didn't forget that he didn't want to get married because she couldn't have children. This was an indelible damage to Sister Hong, even more than him finding other women outside. Master Cheng was stunned for a moment and slowly got up. When he was about to close the car door, he said, There are many women who want to give me children. When have I ever served anyone like this? He didn't say anything else and directly got into the car and started it. Along the way, Master Cheng didn't say anything, as if he was angry. Sister Hong didn't pay attention to him. Whether he was angry or not had nothing to do with her. If he couldn't stand it, he could just leave and not pester her. She could still have peace. When they arrived at the hospital, Master Cheng parked the car steadily and said, I'm a little angry, but for the sake of the past, I won't be angry with you. He had been silent the whole way and controlled himself to not strangle this woman to death. Sister Hong only felt that he was weird. She entered the clinic building. She had an appointment with the doctor, and this was a very expensive private hospital, so there weren't many people, and the environment was very good. Master Chung obediently followed behind. Later, the more he walked in, the more he saw that the pregnant women were supported by their husbands, looking very loving. He followed. "Hey, woman, if you beg me, I can help you too." Sister Hong glanced at him and didn't want to look anymore. "No need." Master Chung frowned. "Hey, woman, I'm kind and looking at others. Don't you envy them?" Sister Hong said mercilessly. "If it wasn't for the accidental pregnancy, I would have been talking about marriage with Professor Lin. There's no need to envy others." Master Chung was very dissatisfied. "What's so good about that gigolo? He can't even take a punch from me." But then he grinned. "Speaking of which, this kid is awesome. He helped his father kill off his love rival." As he said that, he was extremely proud. Seeing that he was the same as before, Sister Hong ignored him and went straight to the examination. She didn't object to Master Chung following her. The doctor did an ultrasound. When the small thing moved slightly, a rough man like Master Chung actually wanted to cry. He endured it for a while before saying in a small voice, "This child is pretty good, right?" The doctor smiled. "Of course it's good. Its life force is extremely strong." Master Chung rubbed his hands excitedly. "I wonder if it's a man or a woman." The doctor rolled his eyes at him. "What era are we living in? Why do you still differentiate between men and women?" Master Chung chuckled. "I'm just curious. There's no such thing as valuing boys over girls. Why don't you ask Lu Hong?" "I like both boys and girls. I just want to have an older brother who loves and cares for his younger sister." Just like that, the doctor smiled. "That's a good idea. It might come true." As soon as he said that, Grandpa Chung stared at the doctor in disbelief. Then he shouted, "I have a son." "That's what you mean, I have a son. The Chung family's bloodline has been passed down." The doctor thought to himself, "This bastard. What a hypocrite. Just now he said that all children were the same. Now he's showing his true colors." Sister Hong also felt that it was quite embarrassing. When they left, she walked in front while Master Chung followed behind like a mistress who had done something wrong. He carefully accompanied her. "I'm a rough man. I'm just speaking my mind. It's not against the law to speak my mind, right? Besides, isn't it good to have a boy inherit the family business?" Chapter 50-300. Is he going to fight and kill with you? Sister Hong asked coldly. Master Chung felt a little embarrassed and scratched his head. "How about he inherits from you? In the future, our son will be a civilized person, unlike his father who is a jerk and does whatever you say. How about that?" Sister Hong didn't want to listen to his nonsense and continued walking. Master Chung jogged along and opened the car door for Sister Hong. He even specially fastened the seatbelt. "Be careful. Don't touch my son. He's the first baby." Master Chung was happy and shameless. It was rare to see a man as thick-skinned as him. However, it was also a good thing. Sister Hong sat in the back of the car and was a little tired. Master Chung whispered, "Why don't I take you to eat something? These days, you don't seem to have much of an appetite. This can't go on. Our son doesn't have enough nutrition. Didn't the television say that we can't lose at the starting line?" Sister Hong was a little annoyed. "You're so annoying," Master Chung chuckled. "I'm just worried about our son. Are you unhappy?" As he said that, he thickened his skin and said a few more shameless words. He was living like a monk now, so he could only move his lips. Seeing that she didn't object, Master Chung drove to a private restaurant. Because Sister Hong was pregnant, Master Chung considerately booked a private room. However, when they entered, they coincidentally bumped into Professor Lin's family. It wasn't just them. There was another family with a rather good-looking girl who was probably on a blind date. The atmosphere was rather subtle, especially when Professor Lin stared at Sister Hong's stomach. If something had happened between him and Sister Hong, he could have said that the child was his. However, they were innocent and there was no way he could lie to himself. Sister Hong was quite calm. She nodded and went to the private room with Master Chung. After they left, Mother Lin said, "It's really a pity for reporter Lu. She's such a good woman with money and status, but she ended up with such an uncouth man." Master Chung didn't walk far and heard it. If it was in the past, he would most likely turn around and beat up that old woman. However, he remembered that Sister Hong was pregnant, so he could only endure it. But at the same time, Master Cheng's pride was indeed hurt. In the past, he had so many women, including many university students, but no one had ever looked down on him for being uncultured. That was because they didn't dare to. But with Lu Hong, more than one person said that. He looked at himself. He was quite civilized. He asked Sister Hong in a low voice, "Do you dislike me too?" Sister Hong replied indifferently, "There's no relationship between us. There's no need to say that I despise you." Master Chung was hurt again. He rubbed his nose and entered the private room to eat. Outside, the girl on the blind date thought she was knowledgeable and smiled obediently. "That man looks rich. Reporter Lu must be with him for the money." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Sungwin's face sank. In other words, there was no future between him and this girl. Although he and Sister Hong were not fated to be together, he was still unhappy when an unrelated person said such things about her. The girl was very satisfied with Professor Lin. She wanted to get to know him better after dinner, but was mercilessly rejected. The girl was confused. "Professor Lin, I thought we were getting along well." "That's what you think." Professor Lin said indifferently, "Reporter Lu is my ex-girlfriend. She's a very good person. It's not like what you said. You don't know the whole picture, and you just reject a person like that. I'm sorry. I can't accept it." Chapter 5301. The girl was completely stunned by Professor Lin's words. She really didn't expect him to care so much about her unintentional words. She was just speaking the truth. Who didn't know that reporter Lu was using Master Chung to get her position? If it wasn't for money, what else could it be? Now that she had a child, why couldn't Professor Lin let it go? She was somewhat unconvinced in her heart, but she couldn't say it out loud. Lin Kongwen remained indifferent, probably as if he had made up his mind. In the end, the meal ended on a sour note. On the other side, Sister Hong was carefully served by Master Chung. Master Chung served her as if she was his own mother. He served her tea, and was indeed very attentive. Even so, Sister Hong still didn't give him a good look. Her expression was still indifferent. Master Chung was quite sad. He had been lying low for so many days, but it didn't seem to have any effect at all. As he served Sister Hong the dishes, he asked, "Tell me, how can we get back together? As long as you say it, I'll do it for you even if I have to pluck the moon from the sky." Sister Hong asked him faintly, "How are you going to pluck the moon from the sky?" Master Chung was stumped. He chuckled. "Let me think. Did you really take it for real?"
Boring.
Sister Hong didn't want to talk to him and took a sip of water. Master Chung was trying to make her happy, but the words of a man who had been empty for a long time were simply unbearable. Sister Han couldn't take it anymore and said, "I'm going to the washroom." Then, she went to the washroom, leaving Master Cheng sitting there alone to eat. Master Cheng's heart was in a mess. Eating alone was also very energetic. After a while, he thought that something was wrong. Lin Kongwen, that pretty boy, was also eating here. So, he bent down and felt his way over. He was very concerned about Sister Hong's matter now. He wouldn't give any other man a chance. What a joke. Not only did he have a wife now, he also had a son. He couldn't let others take advantage of him. Just as Master Cheng got up, Sister Hong did indeed meet Professor Lin in the washroom. Or, Professor Lin deliberately waited for her. When he saw her coming, he immediately followed her. While Sister Hong was washing her hands, Lin Kongwen called her name, "Reporter Lu." Sister Hong turned her head. "It's you." Professor Lin smiled. "That's me. How are you doing?" Sister Hong smiled. "It's all right. What about you? The young lady who went on a blind date just now was pretty good." Of course, Professor Lin didn't tell them what had just happened. He just smiled and said, "It's all right." Sister Hong smiled. "That's good. Isn't that good? Songwon, don't forget to tell me when you get married. I'll give you a big red packet." Lin Conwen smiled bitterly. She really didn't care about him, or rather, she never really liked him. Otherwise, how could she be so magnanimous? People who loved each other would actually try everything to be together. She didn't like him that much and only saw him as someone suitable for marriage, but he lacked the courage. Therefore, they did not insist. It was quite good. Just as Lin Kongwen was about to say goodbye to Sister Hong, Master Cheng popped out of nowhere and said in a strange tone, "I thought you were really going to the washroom. So, it turns out you're an old lover. What's wrong? Do you want me to help you?" Sister Hong hated this side of him the most. As she washed her hands, she said coldly, "Mr. Cheng, do you think you can control who I talk to?" This time, Master Cheng was furious. She didn't even care about him and openly flirted with a pretty boy. Chapter 5302. Master Cheng's fiery temper flared up, and he did not care about anyone. He was about to beat them up, but he held himself back. He lowered his voice and asked, "What are you guys doing?" Sister Hong washed her hands and said slowly, "We're rekindling our relationship."
Didn't you say that just now?
Master Cheng wanted to flare up, but he suppressed his anger and said gruffly, "It's not that I don't want you to talk to others, but you have to avoid arousing suspicion. We're both unmarried. Why should I avoid it?" Sister Hong asked. Master Cheng was stumped by the question. He scratched his head and couldn't say a word. After a while, he looked at Professor Lin and said politely, "Professor Lin was on a blind date just now. How was it?" "That girl is young and pretty. I think she has a big pelvis too. I'm sure she can give birth to a string of sons for you. So, you don't have to keep an eye on me." Professor Lin was annoyed and amused at the same time. He felt helpless. He was a gentleman, but he did not know how to win in a relationship. Although Master Cheng was annoying, he had to admit that he had a way with women. Professor Lin sighed and said something against his will. "I'm getting along well with that girl. Thank you for your concern, Mr. Cheng." "It's my pleasure." Master Cheng touched his head and said generously, "Oh right, Professor Lin, don't forget to tell me when you get married. I'll personally go to your house and set off the firecrackers. I'll also give you a big red packet." These words were simply unacceptable. Professor Lin lowered his gaze and smiled. "All right, I'll definitely inform Mr. Cheng when the time comes." Master Cheng was satisfied. Then, he looked at his woman and said, "Are you satisfied now? I was very polite to your ex-boyfriend. I didn't touch him at all. You have to be a civilized person. You can learn slowly." Professor Lin looked at Sister Hong. She was also helpless. "All right, let's go back." Did he not feel embarrassed enough? Master Cheng had a strong point. He did not know that he was embarrassed and was happy about it. Professor Lin pursed his lips and looked at their backs. Although Sister Hong had not relented, women were afraid of pestering men. As long as Master Cheng did not ask for trouble, he was afraid. However, Cheng Zheng was an impatient person. She might not be able to hold on after one or two. This time, Master Cheng still had a rare amount of patience. No matter how harsh Sister Hong's words were, he just followed behind her like a wolf dog, enjoying it endlessly. Sister Hong felt somewhat helpless as well. Sister Hong's belly was getting bigger and bigger, so she didn't go to the news agency much. However, there were still some things that she approved. Initially, Du Meili was the one who sent the documents over, and sometimes it was Zhang Fucai. Master Cheng had a toothache when he saw the two of them, especially his ex-husband's brother, so he volunteered to help Sister Hong with her bonus. Sister Hong's body was heavy, so after thinking about it, she agreed. Master Cheng was rich. He took the envelope from Sister Hong and added another card to the VIP's card. Zhang Fucai gave him 3 million yuan and Du Meili gave him 1 million yuan. The two of them looked at Master Cheng, then at each other. Master Cheng sat on the sofa in a dignified manner and coughed lightly. Oh, right, this is for the two of you. It's my personal allowance. In the future, if there's any important documents, just let me deliver them. Say, as Sister Hong's man, if I don't contribute at all, I'll be despised for doing nothing every day. Do nothing? More like doing nothing. Zhang Fucai and Du Meili were well aware that although the money was particularly tempting, they didn't take it. Pushing the card back to Master Cheng, Zhang Fucai said lightly, I've done something wrong to Sister Hong. Later, it turned out that she's generous and open-minded, and I'm not worthy of her. Du Meili also said, Yes, Master Cheng. We don't want to let her down anymore. Master Cheng glared at them. I just want you to be a villain so that I can highlight my glorious image. Du Meili and Zhang Fucai looked at each other face to face, but they didn't dare to say anything. How could he be so shameless? Master Cheng never thought that he was shameless. Originally, a series of punches was enough to make the two of them submit, but Mumu was right. If he wanted to be a civilized person, he had to win people over with virtue. However, these two people were so stubborn that Master Cheng wanted to beat them up, but after thinking about it, he endured it. However, at this time, Zhang Fucai said, We can't take the money, but I can talk to Sister Hong about Master Cheng's request. Master Cheng was amused. Zhang Fucai, I didn't know that you're so conscious now. Okay, if you need anything in the future, I'll definitely do it for you. By the way, there's also this beautiful lady. The three of us won't get to know each other if we don't fight. How about this? I'll set up a table tonight, and the three of us will become sworn brothers. We'll have a drink all the time. Zhang Fucai and Du Meili were stunned. Was it a joke to swear brotherhood to Master Cheng? Master Cheng glared at them.
What?
Are you unwilling? Are you looking down on me? Du Meili swallowed her saliva. How can I be unwilling? How could he dare to be unwilling? Master Cheng immediately felt like a spring breeze. Okay, then it's a deal.
We'll eat seafood tonight.
Unfortunately, your sister Hong can't go. Later, you have to comfort her and say good things about me. Then she'll probably be in a good mood. They were all writers, but Zhang Fucai and Du Meili couldn't find any logic in Master Cheng's words. However, Master Cheng felt that what he said was right and good. Master Cheng was full of confidence, so he left first. Only Zhang Fucai and Du Meili were left looking at each other. Du Meili looked at him. You really want to help him? Zhang Fucai, you're not loyal enough. Didn't he hurt Sister Hong enough? It's not like you didn't see how sad she was at that time. Adults didn't want outsiders to know about their sadness. Sister Hong looked good on the surface, but she was actually hurt on the inside. Zhang Fucai said sullenly, I didn't take any money. Actually, I can see that Cheng Gai seems to be sincere about Sister Hong. Sincere? If he was sincere, he would go and play with girls. He played so crazily that the whole world knew that Sister Hong was cheated on by him. How could he not feel embarrassed? Du Meili didn't have much confidence. Sister Hong is such a strong person. At that time, she endured it and waited for him at home every day. That bastard is having so much fun outside. Because the two of them had also cheated on Sister Hong, the two of them fell silent. After a while, Zhang Fucai said, We can't care so much. Let's wait and see. Anyway, the initiative is in our Sister Hong's hands. If Sister Hong doesn't say anything, he won't dare to do anything. I think this bastard is quite afraid of Sister Hong. Du Meili also laughed. I think so. He's quite afraid. Zhang Fucai thought about it and felt a little proud. Master Cheng was such a powerful person, but he still fell. Now, he could only show off in front of them. In front of Sister Hong. He didn't even dare to fart. Just thinking about it made one word. Awesome. Chapter 5303. That night, Master Cheng brought Zhang Fucai and Du Meili to a table. At the wine table, Master Cheng and the two of them confided their hearts to each other. Xiao Mao was eagerly trying to persuade them to drink. Zhang Fucai had always been a person who loved wine and women, so he was immediately coaxed and began to confide in Master Cheng. Master Cheng hadn't drunk like this in a long time. These days he was like a monk. He didn't drink or get close to women. He was really happy today. Master Chung had all kinds of fun. Du Meili looked at Zhang Fucai and was infuriated. Men are bastards. Dogs can't stop eating shit. The two of them were birds of a feather. Sure enough, after eating and drinking, Zhang Fucai revealed his true colors. Master Chung, I heard that the girl over there is very tender. How about you take me to broaden my horizons? Master Chung was eating and was surprised to hear this. However, he still ate a mouthful of food and fiercely chewed. Don't you have a wife? Why are you still looking for a girl? He looked at Du Meili. Besides, aren't you two in that kind of relationship?
Why?
Aren't you afraid that she'll be angry? Zhang Fucai looked like he was indulging in alcohol, women, avarice, and anger. The alcohol had given him some courage. He glanced at Du Meili and smiled. Meili and I have been clean for a long time. Otherwise, how could we work for Sister Hong? We're both men. Du Meili was furious. If Master Chung wasn't here, she would have slapped this bastard. She thought that he wanted to turn over a new leaf. Didn't they agree to turn over a new leaf together? At this moment, Zhang Fucai squinted his eyes and looked at Master Chung. Master Chung put down the glass in his hand and smiled. You want to find a girl?
Sure.
Xiao Mao, help my brother find a beautiful girl. As for me, Master Chung smiled. There's no need. I'm a man who wants to keep his chastity. Zhang Fucai said in a loud voice and raised his glass. Let me toast Master Chung. Du Meili was a little dumbfounded. At this moment, Master Chung sat down again and smiled. You dare to test me? You really aren't a good person. Zhang Fucai smiled. She's an ex-wife after all. I have to open my eyes for her. I can't misjudge a man and divorce him again, right? After saying that, Master Cheng's expression changed. Zhang Fucai knew that he had said the wrong thing, so he took the initiative to raise his cup. I said the wrong thing. Let's drink first. Master Cheng just smiled and didn't say anything else. He just kept quiet. Later, the two men really let loose and drank. They called each other brothers and said all kinds of things. It was inconvenient for a woman like Du Meili to listen, so she found an excuse to leave first. Later, Master Chung and Zhang Fucai drank until they collapsed on the table. Xiao Mao called him. Master Chung, it's getting late. You should go back. Master Chung looked up. What time is it? Xiao Mao said softly. It's almost midnight. Let's go back. Sister Hong is still waiting for us at home. Master Chung let out a long sigh. All right, let's go. Arrange for someone to send this damn fatty back. Don't worry, Master Chung. Leave this small matter to me. Xiao Mao found Master Cheng's arm and supported his master. He asked the manager to send Zhang Fucai away. Xiao Mao generously left 2,000 yuan. When Master Chung returned to his room, he was burning with alcohol. At this moment, he especially missed the woman who lived upstairs. Her belly was round. Although it was a little ridiculous and not beautiful at all, she was quite cute. Moreover, that was his woman, his son. Master Chung missed her very much. He really wanted to talk to her, even if it was just to talk. That woman was now soft-spoken to everyone except him, as if he owed her a lot of money. He owed her a debt of love, but he also gave her a son. Moreover, he was willing to treat her well. She could do whatever she wanted. She could hit him every day, scold him, treat him like a slave. Master Cheng's heart was burning. He really couldn't help but run over and knock on Sister Hong's door. Xiao Mao was scared to death. He desperately tried to stop him. Master Cheng, Sister Hong is pregnant. What are you trying to do? Master Cheng's heart was burning. Taking advantage of the alcohol, he kicked him. What can I do? I just want to see her. As he said that, he knocked twice. Xiao Mao felt wronged. He whispered, Master Cheng, you said you wanted to be a civilized man. What can a civilized man eat? Master Cheng sneered. Can I see my son? Suddenly, he became discouraged and squatted in the corner. I haven't seen this woman for 2 days. She's really cruel. As he said that, he touched his head and then scratched his head. He really looked extremely distressed. Xiao Mao was also distressed. he whispered. Then we can come back tomorrow. It's not early now, Master Chung. Master Chung held his chin and squatted like a big dog. I'll wait here for tomorrow. This time, Xiao Mao really had no choice. After a while, the door opened. Chapter 5304. Updated quickly. The auntie looked at Master Chung and whispered, Miss Lu is asleep. Why don't you come tomorrow? However, Master Chung was so drunk that he still made a big fuss about meeting Sister Hong. The auntie was unhappy. She's pregnant, so she can't do less. As she said that, Sister Hong was already woken up. She put on a coat and looked at Master Chung angrily. Chung, why are you here in the middle of the night? She looked at the auntie, who was helpless. He's too noisy. I'm afraid he'll wake you up. Sister Hong rolled her eyes. Let him in. He's sleeping on the sofa. If he dares to make a sound, throw him out immediately. The auntie heaved a sigh of relief and let him in. Sister Hong went back to her room. Unexpectedly, Master Chung also followed him like a big dog. Sister Hong frowned. Why are you following me? Master Chung didn't say anything and just looked at her. Sister Hong sneered. Why are you following me? There are so many girls out there. Don't you have legs? Run over. There are many rich girls who will be willing to follow you. Master Chung lowered his head. I don't want them, I want you. Sister Hong fell asleep. He didn't dare to follow her, so he just leaned against the bed. To be able to be with her peacefully like this, he felt that it was a great gift from the heavens. Master Chung leaned against the bed and the alcohol kicked in, so he fell asleep unknowingly. He fell asleep, but Sister Hong couldn't sleep. Pregnant women were light sleepers to begin with, and now that Master Chung was snoring and sleeping soundly, it made her angry again. Sister Hong was angry, but there was nothing she could do. In the end, she could only lie down and look at the ceiling quietly. She didn't sleep well last night, so she woke up early in the morning with a bad complexion. On the other hand, Master Chung woke up feeling refreshed. One look and he could see that the bedroom was quiet and beautiful. He stretched and felt comfortable all over. He hadn't slept so well in a long time. He ran out and saw his woman eating nutritious breakfast and listening to music. Old Master Chung was delighted. He went over and touched his tummy. This brat will definitely be refined when he grows up. He won't be as crude as his father. Brat, learn from your mother. Don't be like your father. Sister Hong looked at him with a complicated look in her eyes. Master Chung had always been thick-skinned. Instead of feeling ashamed, he felt proud. But after a while, he noticed that Sister Hong's expression wasn't right. He looked at the auntie and asked, Is she sick? The auntie said unhappily, I'm not sick. I just didn't sleep well. Master Chung scratched his head. Why can't you sleep? Look at such a good house, money, and status. Wouldn't you be smiling even in your dreams? The auntie said impolitely, Mr. Chung, do you know that you snore? How can Miss Lu sleep like this? Master Chung rubbed his head. I'm snoring, so I'll seal my mouth to sleep in the future. Is that okay? Sister Hong glanced at him. Don't do it again. You're done with breakfast. Get lost. Master Chung didn't want to get lost, but he knew that it wouldn't end well if he didn't. Master Chung slowly ate his breakfast. After he was done, he carefully helped Sister Hong back to the bedroom. Go back to sleep. I'll leave immediately. I won't disturb you. Sister Hong glanced at him. He smiled. This brat is really noisy. He must be a spirited guy. Sister Hong closed her eyes and sighed faintly. Get lost. Chapter 5305. She wasn't so against Master Cheng's appearance now, but she wasn't prepared to accept him. Based on what? Master Cheng still had some fantasies in his heart. He thought that her heart would soften after giving birth to the child. Sister Hong didn't say anything to him and closed her eyes to rest. Master Cheng went back. After thinking about it, he felt that the progress was too slow. Sister Hong wouldn't let him touch a single hair on her body. He was also quite anxious. If this continued, when would he be able to make it? He had the urge to argue with her, but he was also a little afraid. Just like that, the days passed one by one. After the new year, the flowers bloomed in spring. Sister Hong's belly grew bigger and bigger. But strangely, this woman would wear a loose floral dress and an ice silk cardigan. Her belly was obviously big, but why did it look so much better than before? Every time, Master Cheng especially wanted to get closer to her, but he was a little afraid that she would give him a slap. Just like that, the days passed. When Master Cheng saw Sister Hong, his eyes were like a big wild wolf that couldn't be hidden no matter what. Sister Hong ignored him. Her attitude was the same as before. Today, her belly was already 9 months old, and she was close to giving birth. Master Cheng was happy. This kid was finally coming out. He had tormented his father quite a bit. Yesterday, Master Cheng had already cleaned the car. Moreover, it was a limousine, so she was guaranteed to sit comfortably in it. The auntie also followed. This time, she was going to stay there to wait for the birth. Master Cheng whistled, feeling very proud. He was going to have a son soon. The stretch luxury car slowly started and drove in the direction of the hospital. Master Cheng was whistling as he drove.
His mood was soaring.
Sister Hong felt that he was quite boring, so she turned her head and looked out of the car window. Master Cheng looked at her from the rear-view mirror and grinned. In a while, we'll stay in the best ward, and the best doctor will operate on you. We'll choose the best time. Our son must be perfect. Sister Hong felt that he was really boring. The auntie covered her mouth and laughed. Mr. Chung is really funny. He thinks it's funny. Auntie, don't learn from him. Sister Hong snorted softly. The auntie pursed her lips and smiled, unable to contain her joy. One had to know that after enduring for so many months, they were finally going to see the light of day. Moreover, a little person was going to be born. This was something that anyone would be happy about. Master Cheng was very happy. He was whistling as he drove. When the phone rang, he picked it up. Little Mao, what's up? Xiao Mao's voice was especially anxious. Master Cheng, are you outside? I've received news that the one surnamed me is having a miserable time outside and wants to come back to take revenge on you. I've heard from my brother that he's waiting at Sister Hong's place, saying that he wants Master Cheng to have no son. Master Cheng ground his white teeth and cursed. At this moment, he suddenly saw a white car following him from the rear-view mirror. Master Cheng made 2 turns, but the car was still following him. Master Cheng immediately said to Xiao Mao, I'll lead the car to the 328 National Highway. You'll meet me there. Xiao Mao immediately agreed and hung up the phone. Sister Hong sensed that something was wrong and asked in a low voice, Qingzheng, what happened? Master Cheng drove and said in a calm voice, It's just a small matter. Take a pillow and hold it in your arms. If anything happens later, remember to protect yourself. We can still have a son. Sister Hong was extremely nervous. At this moment, her stomach suddenly hurt, however, she did not dare to say it, afraid that it would affect Qingzheng. Master Cheng said as he spoke, Let's not go to the hospital first. We'll meet up with Xiao Mao first. He has a way. After saying that, he said very softly, Lu Hong, the only woman that I've ever liked is you. Live well for me. Chapter 5306. Memorized. Sister Hong did not know what had happened, but she could feel the seriousness of the matter. She did not make a sound, afraid that she would disturb Qingzheng. The auntie at the side was also very scared, shivering. Controlling the steering wheel, Master Cheng gritted his teeth. Bastard, how dare you lay a hand on me? He narrowed his eyes, turned the steering wheel, and drove towards State Highway 328. After driving for a while, Master Cheng said softly, It's okay. We'll be safe after this. Sister Hong regained her composure and said sternly, Qingzheng, even though you're despicable, I won't allow anything to happen to you. Do you hear me? She was already in a lot of pain, but she had to endure it because if Qingzheng was distracted, all of them would be finished. At that moment, there were 4 cars behind them, and they were getting closer and closer. Master Cheng was getting a little impatient. If it was in the past, he would have risked his life without fear of death, But now that his wife and child were in the car, he didn't even dare to play with his own life. He drove steadily, and from time to time, he would confirm the position with Xiao Mao. Only a few kilometers left. Very good. At this time, Master Cheng also noticed that Sister Hong's stomach was hurting. He frowned and then changed his tone into a relaxed one. Wife, did you know? I've deposited all my assets in a Swiss bank, tens of billions of dollars in your name. In such a tense atmosphere, the auntie actually let out a few sounds. So much money. Master Cheng did not make a sound. He secretly looked at the situation through the rearview mirror and stepped on the accelerator. Damn it, I'm about to give birth. Cheng Zheng, don't worry about me. Sister Hong's forehead began to sweat, and her dress was soaked. She gritted her teeth. We all have to live. Master Cheng agreed. As he drove, he looked at the situation behind him. The car was only about 10 meters away. If it came up to them at any time, it could squeeze their car into a pancake. He yelled at Xiao Mao. Where is she? Your sister-in-law is about to give birth. Xiao Mao said anxiously. We'll be there soon. There was still 1 kilometer left. Master Cheng, you hold on. After Xiao Mao finished speaking, he had the courage to cut his losses. At this time, he, Xiao Mao, was willing to die for Master Cheng. Xiao Mao's life was originally given by Master Cheng. Xiao Mao drove the car and shouted to his subordinates through the walkie-talkie, drive as fast as you can. Sister-in-law is about to give birth. More than 10 cars whizzed forward and were about to meet Master Cheng. On Master Cheng's side, the atmosphere was tense. As the car approached 120, Sister Hong's stomach was in pain. She bit her lips and refused to make a sound. Beside her, the auntie comforted her. It'll be over soon. Just bear with it. Sister Hong agreed, but her forehead was still drenched in sweat. In such a painful and frightening moment, she finally called out the name of the man she once loved and hated. Cheng Zheng. Master Cheng was driving. When he heard this, a tear rolled down from the corner of his eye. He immediately wiped it away. He was a man, so how could he cry like a woman? That's all right, he said hoarsely, his voice unbelievably soft. At this moment, the back of the car shook violently. Master Cheng cursed under his breath. This bunch of dogs. Are you okay? He quickly stepped on the accelerator and asked loudly. Sister Hong didn't say anything. The auntie's voice was filled with fear. Mr. Cheng, I'm afraid Miss Liu is going to have a difficult delivery. There's so much blood. Master Cheng's eyes reddened. It was his fault for getting her pregnant and implicating her. At this moment, another loud sound came from behind, and the car shook violently. Master Cheng let out a roar like an animal. He looked at the rearview mirror and saw 3 cars approaching from behind. There was no way for him to retreat. Auntie, please take care of her in the future. If the child is still around, please take care of him too, Master Cheng said in a low voice. The auntie was shocked. Before she could say anything, she felt the car colliding with the front of the car. Master Cheng's position had collided with the other car, and the back of the car fell to the safest spot, 200 meters ahead. Xiao Mao exclaimed, Master Cheng. Master Cheng couldn't hear it anymore. His head and body were covered in blood, but he still struggled to look at the rear-view mirror. Xiao Mao's car was approaching. After that, Sister Hong was sent to the hospital. She was bleeding profusely, and her body was already a blur. But she still held onto the auntie's hand and repeated a person's name. Cheng Zheng. Cheng Zheng. Is he still there? The auntie clenched her fist. Mr. Cheng is in the emergency room. You can give birth in peace. Chapter 5307. Updated quickly. When Sister Hong was in the operating room, she was covered in blood. The pain made her unable to tell if she was dead or alive. She blinked softly and looked up at the white ceiling helplessly. This is the hospital, right? Where is Cheng Zheng? Is he still alive? In the midst of the heart-wrenching pain, Sister Hong tried her best to recall that moment, wondering if Cheng Zheng was still alive. At that moment, all the love and hate didn't matter, as long as he was alive. Tears slid down the corner of her eyes, and her body was numb with pain. It was difficult to give birth to a child, and she had to undergo a C-section. However, after a short while in the delivery room, she felt a sharp pain. Sister Hong squeezed out the child in that pain. Chengzheng. She called out his name in a hoarse voice in that pain. When she opened her eyes again, she was surrounded by a clean expanse of whiteness, and she could smell a pleasant scent. When she opened her eyes again, there was a bouquet of red roses beside her bed. Sister Hong blinked. She couldn't believe it. Then, she heard a voice. "You're awake?" It was Su Mu's voice. Sister Hong immediately turned around and looked over. Her body was a little painful, but she couldn't care less. Chengzheng, he's still alive. Su Mu came over and squatted by the bed. He's awake after the operation. Sister Hong looked at Su Mu and asked her quietly, "What happened to him?" Su Mu was silent for a while before replying softly, "He only has one leg, so it might be a little inconvenient for him to walk in the future. Everything else is fine." Sister Hong was stunned and didn't say anything for a long time. Afraid that she would be sad, Su Mu pushed the baby over. "Look, this is your son. He's very good-looking, isn't he?" Sister Hong looked over. He was indeed beautiful. The pink baby looked peaceful and quiet, and it didn't seem like he was born in that kind of situation at all. The auntie also came over with a bowl of soup in her hand. "But God has blessed us. Both mother and son are safe. Let's drink some soup. The little one will be hungry later." Sister Hong grunted and propped herself up to sit up. Her body felt weak. Su Mu took the soup and fed it mouthful by mouthful. She said, "Don't worry about them. Xiao Mao is taking care of them. Besides, Zhang Fucai is also very loyal. He has been using his connections to suppress the matter. He also put in a lot of effort over there. Last night, he didn't go home and stayed there." Sister Hong was taken aback. When did Zhang Fucai and Chengzheng have such a good relationship? Su Mu continued, "After this incident, that me fellow is finished." Sister Hong was silent for a moment. "Back then, I was the one who let him. In fact, I was the one who harmed him." Su Mu held Sister Hong's hand, not knowing how to comfort her. Sister Hong continued in a soft voice, "He used to be so awe-inspiring. I don't know if he'll be able to accept this." Su Mu choked for a moment before slowly saying, "He's pretty good. If it weren't for the inconvenience, he would have come to see you and the child. He said that he's not very cultured and asked you to name the child so that you can tell him." Sister Hong thought about it quietly for a moment. "Chengmingyu." Su Mu smiled gently. "That's a pretty good name." Sister Hong drank the soup and felt tired again. She lay down and looked at her son quietly. After a while, little Yu woke up from hunger. Su Mu carefully placed him in Sister Hong's arms. Sister Hong looked at her son very gently. This little life, as well as hers, was exchanged for Chengzheng's leg. She didn't know why, but she felt like crying, but she couldn't cry, she could only quietly wipe her eyes. She didn't want others to see it. Chapter 5308. On the other side of the ward, Master Cheng's entire body was covered in bruises, and his leg was in a terrible state. He was lying on the bed with one leg hanging, and the doctor said that he wouldn't be able to walk for 3 months. 3 months? Wasn't that asking for his life? His wife and child were still there. How could he see them? But Master Cheng calmed down after a short while. He looked at his own leg. He would be a cripple in the future, and Sister Hong looked so beautiful and charming now. If he walked beside her, people would gossip about him, and their son didn't want a cripple for a father. Master Cheng had always thought like a teddy, but at this moment, he felt a little inferior. He quietly lay on the bed and thought about it, and in the end, he still felt a little ashamed, so he didn't go to see them, and only asked Zhang Fucai to secretly take a photo for him to see. When he saw the pink baby, he almost cried. This was his son. Zhang Fucai said softly, "Sister Hong is asking about you." Master Cheng was looking at the photo carefully, and when he heard that, he looked up. After a while, he said, "Oh," and started looking at the photo again. Zhang Fucai was a little anxious. "Don't you have anything to say?" Master Cheng called Xiao Mao over. Send a big red packet over. Just say that it's not convenient for me to go over. Xiao Mao said in a high-pitched voice, Master Cheng, we can push you over in the wheelchair. Sister-in-law will be discharged tomorrow, and it won't be easy to see her. Master Cheng suddenly remembered that Sister Hong said she wanted to go abroad, and if she went abroad after this incident, it wouldn't be easy to see her. He was silent for a long time and then said softly, Okay, then I'll see her. I haven't seen my son yet. Zhang Fucai breathed a sigh of relief. That was more like it. They had clearly experienced life and death, but these two old men and women, who were almost 70 years old, were still shy. Master Cheng's leg was not working, but it wasn't broken, and the key point was that it could still be used. The doctor also said that if he recovered well in the future, even if it was just a slight injury, it would still be visible. It all depended on whether Master Cheng was willing to endure this pain. On the other side, Xiao Mao pushed Master Cheng, ready to go to the delivery room. Master Cheng even got someone to buy him a toy. He looked a little funny because his whole body was covered in bandages. As soon as the wheelchair was pushed, he felt pain all over his body, so he scolded Xiao Mao for being a bastard. Xiao Mao immediately coaxed him, and only then was Master Cheng willing to endure it. At the door of the delivery room, Master Cheng hesitated again. Should I inform them? As soon as he said this, Xiao Mao and Zhang Fucai were stunned. When did Master Cheng need to report who he wanted to see? Godfather Cheng rolled his eyes at them. You have to be civilized. I have a son. He wanted to set up a positive image for his son. He could not let his son think that he was a hooligan. Zhang Fucai knocked on the door and told Du Meili that Master Cheng was here and asked if Sister Hong wanted to see him. Sister Hong heard it too, and her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't visited him, and he hadn't visited his son either. It was as if he was avoiding her at this moment. She heard that Master Cheng had arrived. She pursed her lips. Come in. Master Cheng's heartbeat quickened as well. He had an indescribable feeling in his heart. He was excited, but at the same time, he felt a little inferior. He was afraid that she would despise him for being a cripple. Xiao Mao pushed Master Cheng into the delivery room. Master Cheng was wrapped up like a mummy, and it looked a little funny. Du Meili was the first to laugh. Master Cheng felt embarrassed. What's so funny? It's just a scratch. Chapter 5309. He said it very calmly, but Sumu knew how much pain he was in. His entire body was covered in wounds. She didn't dare to look at him. She only heard that he was fine. But now, just looking at him made her lose her composure. Her eyes were a little misty. Afraid that she would lose her composure, she said softly, You guys go out first. I have something to say to Chengzheng. The people around them nodded, and then went out. Xiao Mao wanted to peek, but was dragged away by Zhang Fucai. Kid, what are you looking at? That's an adult matter. Xiao Mao felt wronged. That's between Master Cheng and sister-in-law. How can I not care? Zhang Fucai hooked his arm around his neck. All right. We still don't know if she's your sister-in-law. Xiao Mao didn't say anything. After a long time, he said softly, Actually, Master Cheng still wants to be with sister-in-law. But maybe not. Master Cheng was a person who cared about his reputation. He wouldn't say that. To put it bluntly, he was a straight man, and it was the last stage. He used to think that he was awesome, but now he was as cowardly as he could be. Zhang Fucai also sighed softly and didn't say anything. In the delivery room, Master Cheng looked around. It's pretty good. The environment here is pretty good. He then said, Where's our son? Let me see. Sister Hong went over and pushed him to the floor-to-ceiling window. She carried little Mingyu over and placed him in his arms. She said softly, His name is Cheng Mingyu. You can call him Yu. Master Cheng already knew the child's name, but he was still very excited. This child had his surname. With her strong personality, she was actually willing to let the child have his surname. Sister Hong didn't explain why.
She just told him that.
Master Cheng hugged the child and wanted to kiss him, but his body was covered in wounds and his face was wrapped in gauze. He couldn't even kiss him. He could only press his face against him, afraid that it would scare the child. But little Yu woke up. He stared at Master Cheng's face with a pair of black and bright eyes. He seemed to be curious and actually smiled. Master Cheng looked at the angelic smile and smiled too. He then said happily, "This child looks so much like me. He's so good-looking." Sister Hong rolled her eyes. This person was still the same as before. However, after Master Cheng said this, he didn't say anything else. He just looked at little Yu silently. After a long time, he whispered, "What are your plans?" Sister Hong was silent for a while before saying, "I want to go abroad." Cheng Zheng, she wanted to ask him if he wanted to go with her. But before she could finish, Master Cheng hurriedly interrupted her. "It's good to go abroad. The air is good there, and there are many blonde hair and blue eyes. You'll definitely be very happy." Sister Hong looked at him, and he wanted to slap himself. Then he smiled and said, "I'm just spouting nonsense. Don't take it to heart. What I meant was that overseas is suitable for children to grow up." Sister Hong faintly said, "Don't you want to go?" Master Cheng coughed lightly. "I'm not going. What's the point of me going overseas? B city suits me." Sister Hong asked him softly, "Do you still want to be the boss here?" "Of course, I have a bunch of brothers here," Master Cheng said confidently. But when he lowered his head to look at little Yu, his eyes were gentle. "Our son doesn't want to be like me, fighting and killing. He's studying abroad. When he comes back in the future, don't let him find someone with blue eyes and yellow hair. Chinese people still have to find Chinese people. Otherwise, they'll be crossbred." Chapter 53:10. Master Cheng talked for a long time until the muscles on his face hurt. Then he didn't know what he was talking about, so he stopped. He looked at the little guy in his arms quietly. The little guy opened his eyes and stared at him. He looked really cute. Master Cheng felt a lump in his throat and asked Sister Hong softly, "You'll come back, right? You won't stay abroad for a long time, will you? You have to come back to see them. You still have relatives in China, right? If not, your ex-husband, Du Meili, Su Mu, and the news agency. Won't you come back to see them?" Sister Hong said, "When Yu is a little older, he'll come back." Master Cheng looked at her, wanting to say something, but unable to. Sister Hong said softly, "If you want to see your son, I'll bring him back for you to see." Master Cheng's mouth was open for a long time before he nodded. "That's good. Thank you." Sister Hong smiled. At this time, little Yu was probably hungry. His little mouth was open, waiting to be fed, and he was even sucking on Master Cheng's fingers. Faced with such a small thing, Master Cheng felt particularly surprised, and then he was even more reluctant. This was his big fat thing, and it was about to be taken abroad by his cruel mother to be admired by everyone. As a father, if he wanted to take a look at it, he would have to do everything possible. Master Cheng was sad, and his voice was a little hoarse. "He seems hungry." Sister Hong nodded and sat on the sofa to feed him. Master Cheng coughed lightly and turned his back. This was his wife and child. Why did he have to avoid arousing suspicion? Sister Hong was a new mother, but she was mature, so she quickly got used to it. She fed the child while talking to Master Cheng. "Auntie is going abroad with me. When will you be discharged?" Master Cheng actually had about a month left, but he put on a brave front. "I'll be discharged soon." "All right. When are you leaving?" "I'll see you and the child off." His heart was bleeding, but he pretended to be generous. Sister Hong was silent for a while and said, "I'll leave next week." Master Cheng was stunned, and his mouth was open for a long time. In the end, he said softly, "Pretty good." After that, he didn't speak anymore. After Sister Hong finished feeding the child, he endured the pain and hugged little Yu in his arms for a long time. Sister Hong was discharged from the hospital very soon. On the day she was discharged, she did not see Master Cheng. She heard that he had gone for a checkup. It would be best if she left. When Master Cheng turned around, she had already left. Xiao Mao accompanied Master Cheng and couldn't bear to see his disappointed expression. "Well, sister-in-law is still in B City. If you want to see her, you can see her anytime." Master Cheng pointed at his leg. Can I still run now? He then said, Forget it. You're just a cripple. Don't be so annoying. You don't deserve to stand next to her. Xiao Mao wanted to say something, but Master Cheng stopped him. Don't talk about kindness. That bastard me came for me. Besides, I'm a man. Isn't it natural for me to protect my woman and child? I can't do such a despicable thing like using this to tie up a woman. Xiao Mao was speechless. He then said in a rough voice, Since she wants to leave, let her leave. It's good too. She can't get along well with a boorish man like me. That being said, Master Cheng couldn't sleep that night. He tossed and turned, thinking that his wife and child were going to leave. Chapter 53:11. 1 second to remember, however, he was indeed quite manly and did not look for her. He thought that if his leg was fine, he would have pestered her no matter what. However, the doctor had said that even if he could endure hardship and recover well, his leg would not be able to fully recover in the future. He would more or less limp. Master Cheng was quite concerned about it. He would rather become a fatty like Zhang Fucai than a cripple Su Mu, on the other hand, often came to see him and even brought him all kinds of nourishing soup. Master Cheng sighed in his heart. They were all good women, but he did not manage to catch a single one of them. When he said this, Su Mu knocked his head. If Sister Hong heard it, she will definitely beat you up again. Master Cheng's mouth was like a fish again. After a long time, he finally said, Why would she care about me now? She's always thinking about her son. Su Mu smiled. You didn't express anything either. After Sister Hong gave birth to a son, you acted like everyone was going to be good friends in the future. She definitely won't stick to you. Don't forget your dark history in the past. Master Cheng was about to explode. I have long forgotten about those things. It's like taking a dump. How can I still remember that feeling every day? Su Mu was speechless. Be more civilized. Master Cheng took a peach and nibbled on it. No matter how civilized I am, no matter how many books I read, it's useless. One of my legs is already like this. In the future, I won't be able to speak respectfully in front of women. Su Mu, you don't understand men. Su Mu blinked. I don't understand men, but I understand women very well. She said very softly, If a woman really loves a man, she won't dislike him just because he has a leg. She won't be unwilling to follow him. She added, Besides, it's only a little bit better. Cheng Zheng, with your looks and temperament, you can completely control it. For the first time, Master Cheng was not confident. He looked out of the window. Don't coax me. I know what kind of person I am. Su Mu was also quite speechless. After a long time, she whispered, Actually, you're just not confident enough right now. If you open your mouth, Sister Hong might not leave. Master Cheng silently looked at his own leg. It would take several years for his leg to recover. Sister Hong was no longer young. After being tied up for several years, she would be in her 40s. By then, it would be difficult to find her again. Now, forget it, let her fly. Master Cheng did not speak, but Su Mu roughly understood his intentions. In fact, she didn't think highly of them in the past, but this time, Master Cheng was very manly. Okay, as long as you've thought it through, Su Mu said. After that, she left first. Yi Xiangnan was still waiting for her downstairs. When she got down, he leaned over to open the car door for her before smiling. Big Streamer, why do you look so unhappy? Su Mu stuck close to him and whispered, Yi Xiangnan, if I become disabled one day, and I don't want to leave you, what will you do? The handsome man thought for a moment. Which part of you is disabled? Su Mu glanced at him and felt that he was a little improper. I'm talking to you seriously. I'm serious too. He smiled and started the car. I have to know which part of me is disabled so that I can prescribe the right medicine. His ambiguous words made Su Mu suspicious. Are you going to keep a mistress outside if you don't get a divorce? Well, it depends on your attitude. If you beg me to continue loving you, I'll force myself, he said shamelessly. Su Mu was speechless. Yi Xiangnan. I'm serious. I'm serious too. He smiled, his face becoming more and more mature. Provided that you don't leave me and don't think about it all day long. He paused for a moment before saying, there won't be anyone else. Chapter 53:12. Sumu leaned on his shoulder and went home with him quietly. In the past 6 months, their relationship had gotten much better and more stable. Yi Xiongnan would have social engagements, but he would be very clean. If Sumu didn't check up on him, he would still torment her when they got home, saying that she didn't treat him well. She didn't care about him anymore. She didn't care about her husband at all. She didn't even care about his health. Sumu was a little amused, asking him what he meant by caring. He said that she wanted to go with him when he had social engagements to protect his chastity. Sumu was really speechless. What chastity did he have to speak of? Yi Xiongnan smiled. Are you hungry? What do you want to eat? Sumu sat up straight. Are you hungry? I'll cook some noodles for you. Yi Xiongnan smiled and reached out to touch her head. Okay. When they got home, there was no one else at home. She went downstairs and saw Yi Xiongnan sitting on the sofa, reading a magazine quietly. She could hear the soft sounds from the kitchen. Yi Xiongnan smiled and put down the magazine. Walking into the kitchen, Sumu heard his voice and said softly, Why are you here? It'll be ready in a while. He hugged her from behind and said in a low voice, I just want to hug you. Sumu smiled. Yi Xiongnan, we've been husband and wife for a long time. He rested his chin on her shoulder and said warmly, But I feel that we're just together. Sumu wasn't a standard beauty, but he was very satisfied with her figure and looks. She was the kind that was very pleasing to look at. Only President Yi knew how beautiful she was. Sumu patted him away. Wait in the dining room. Yi Xiongnan smiled meaningfully and returned to the living room. After a while, Sumu brought the noodles over, and the two of them ate in silence, then talked about some daily life. Anne's baby has been born. What gift shall we give? Sumu asked her husband for advice. Yi Xiongnan thought for a moment. What do you think? Sumu pursed her lips and thought for a moment. Then I'll go shopping later. I really couldn't think of anything at the moment. Yi Xiong suddenly said, Let's go together. She didn't understand.
He rarely went shopping.
Yi Xiongnan pinched her face and said, Take it as keeping you company. Sumu didn't say anything. She lowered her head and took small bites of the noodles. The light shone on the side of her face. She was very quiet. She looked like a peaceful person. Yi Xiongnan held her hand on the table. Sumu looked at him. He did not say anything, but he did not loosen his grip. Before Sister Hong went abroad, she went to the hospital to visit Master Cheng. Master Cheng knew that she was going to leave. He had a toothache and lay on the hospital bed alone for several days. Sister Hong brought pork rib soup. She put it on the bed and said softly, Do you want some? Master Cheng's eyes were a little red. He covered his head and said, I don't feel well. I can't drink it. Okay, drink it later. Sister Hong was silent for a long time before she whispered, My flight is tomorrow. Chengzheng, I'll come to see you. Master Cheng's eyes quietly turned red again. After a long time, he whispered, Got it. Sister Hong paused for a moment. If you don't feel well, then I'll leave first. Master Cheng sat up immediately and scratched his head. I'm very good. Their eyes met. Master Cheng felt very uncomfortable. I'm not sad at all, he said very generously. Well, when you and your son go abroad, remember to tell me that you're safe. Sister Hong said yes. Master Cheng then looked at her a little greedily. Sister Hong did not gain weight after giving birth, but she was still very energetic. She was even more beautiful than before she gave birth. Master Cheng looked at her and sighed in his heart. If she went abroad, he would not be able to see her again. He wanted her to stay, but the words were already at the tip of his tongue. He was now half a cripple. She was fine, so why should she follow him? In the end, Master Cheng said softly, Don't worry about the news agency. I'll protect it. You don't have to worry. Sister Hong said thank you. At this time, Master Chung wanted to go to the toilet. After holding it in for a while, he called the nurse. Sister Hong thought for a moment. Let me do it. Master Chung was stunned. In a moment, his face and neck turned red. It's good that the nurse is here. It's so inconvenient for you to come. We are not in that kind of relationship. Chapter 53:13. Sister Hong glanced at him and didn't say anything, directly supporting him to the washroom. When they returned, Master Cheng's expression was somewhat unnatural as he coughed lightly. For this kind of thing, the nurse will do it. Sister Hong helped him sit down, then smiled. You still like the nurse? Master Cheng was a little angry. His voice tensed up. Do I look like such a shallow person? As he said that, he coughed lightly. This is nursing. It's not a special relationship. Don't get the wrong idea. Right now, I really want my reputation. Sister Hong smiled. You still want your reputation, don't you? Master Cheng's face darkened, but he didn't say anything. Sister Hong sighed softly, not saying much either. Both of them were silent for a long time, and finally Sister Hong said, Qing Zheng, I have to go. Master Cheng quivered. What time is your flight? Early morning. Sister Hong smiled. Master Cheng stared at her, his eyes a little red. Sister Hong's voice was gentle. Don't you have anything to say to me? Master Cheng was a little scared, and after a long time, he finally squeezed out a sentence. Take good care of my son. Sister Hong lowered her eyes, smiled, and agreed. When she left, Master Cheng stared at her with a pained expression. When the nurse came over to give him an injection, he didn't feel anything at all. Half an hour later, he came back to his senses, 2 streams of tears at the corner of his eyes, scaring the nurse to death. Mr. Chung, did I hurt you? Master Cheng's voice was slightly choked. How could a girl like you hurt me? Other than that heartless woman, who else can hurt me? The nurse thought for a long time, then finally confirmed that the one who made Master Cheng cry was reporter Liu. She didn't expect that the tyrant of B City, Master Cheng, would also have such a day, crying so miserably. The nurse didn't dare to make fun of him, but when she returned to the nurse's station, she spread the news, making the entire hospital know about it, and Master Cheng lost face. However, Master Cheng didn't care about being angry. He was like a lovesick patient. All right, his wife and son, who he missed so much, stayed until the last moment, and he was crippled. If it was like playing a game, he would definitely create a new account, but he was a living person. His leg could not be saved. Su Mu had long said that Cheng Zheng was just a paper tiger. She looked fierce on the outside, but deep down, she had an inferiority complex. Sister Hong returned to the apartment. The auntie had taken good care of little Yuyu. Sister Hong was not worried at all. Seeing that she had returned, the auntie carried little Yuyu in her arms and said softly, Yuyu is hungry. Sister Hong quietly took off her clothes and fed the child. The auntie stood at the side and started to tidy up. As she did so, she asked, How's Mr. Chung? Sister Hong said softly, Pretty good. Sister Hong nodded. That's good. She paused for a moment before continuing. Actually, Mr. Chung is quite manly. When the auntie thought about the incident that day, she still felt that it was earth-shattering. That day, most men would probably think that they were weak, but Mr. Chung wasn't.
He was really manly.
As she spoke, she looked at Sister Hong. Sister Hong nodded and didn't say anything else. The auntie continued, Mr. Chung didn't say anything about you going today. Hong Hong looked at the auntie and smiled. He didn't say anything. The auntie was obviously a little disappointed. After a long time, she said softly, That shouldn't be the case. Sister Hong didn't say anything. After feeding the child, she said, We're leaving tomorrow morning. Auntie, please get ready. Chapter 53:14. The auntie nodded and didn't dare to say anything else. She still hoped that they could reconcile. Although Mr. Ching used to be a troublemaker, not every man was willing to exchange his life for the life of his wife and child. She agreed with Mr. Chung on this point. Of course, Sister Hong couldn't let go of her pride, so she couldn't do anything about it. The auntie had experience. Actually, Ms. Liu had Mr. Chung in her heart, but she just couldn't say it out loud. Sigh, I'm not a child anymore. How long am I going to drag this on for? The auntie went back to her room. Sister Hong was a little lost in thought as she carried little Yu. The child really looked like Chung Zheng. He had a full forehead, a straight nose, and a pretty little mouth. However, compared to Chung Zheng's Jianghu aura, it was much more refined. Sister Hong kissed her son. When Yu grows up, we'll come back, okay? Little Yu was awake. He stared at his mother with his round eyes. Of course, he didn't understand. After a while, Sister Hong let out a soft sigh. No one knew that she and Yu would go abroad for 4 years. Yu was diagnosed with mild autism when he was 1 year old. He didn't want to talk or communicate with the outside world. Sister Hong brought the child abroad to seek medical treatment. She didn't come back even once. After Qing Zheng's leg recovered, he didn't go abroad even once. For 4 years, they only talked on the phone until the doctor abroad told Sister Hong that going back home might help with the child's illness. So, Sister Hong came back when little Yu was 4 years old. When they came back, Chengzhen got up early in the morning to shave and go to see his son. This was the first time he saw his son since Yu was born. The car was driven by Xiao Mao. Master Cheng didn't drive much since his leg was injured. He always felt that it was hard. When he went out, he liked to use his cane. It made him look old, so it was normal for his legs to be hard. Xiao Mao followed Master Cheng and looked around. Master Cheng patted him. Why aren't they here yet? Did you get the time wrong? Xiao Mao raised his hand to look at his watch. The plane is still in the sky, Master Cheng. Master Cheng touched his head. I see. I was too anxious. He held a little yellow duck in his hand. It was a toy for his son. His son looked delicate like a little girl and was suitable for this kind of furry toy. He didn't look like his father at all. Instead, he looked more like his mother, who was pretending. Thinking of Sister Hong, Master Cheng asked in a low voice, Oh, right. Did she tell you if she has a boyfriend abroad? Xiao Mao said, Master Cheng, I don't know. If you want to know, ask sister-in-law yourself. Master Cheng knocked him on the head. If I wanted to ask, would I need to ask you? He rolled his eyes at little Mao and continued to wait. A moment later, Master Cheng sighed. Even if you see her, don't ask. Xiao Mao looked at Master Cheng. Master Cheng knocked his cane. She's already a cripple. She's rich and has a good figure. Why would she still follow me? Xiao Mao wondered. What if Sister Hong doesn't mind? Master Cheng was not very confident. I minded to death. He didn't want to one day, when Lu Hong thought of his shameful past and saw his crippled leg, she would regret it. If that happened, he really wouldn't be able to live anymore. He talked with Xiao Mao until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Xiao Mao pointed at the exit. Look, sister-in-law is here. Chapter 53:15. Don't call me sister-in-law. Master Cheng patted the little rascal. Little Mao replied with an, oh, and didn't dare to be rude again. Master Cheng squinted his eyes and looked at the group of people coming out. Other than the auntie, there was a young man who was also a foreigner. He helped Master Cheng to carry his luggage and seemed to be quite close to his son. Master Cheng felt like he was struck by lightning and didn't know what to do. Also, the foreign guy looked very handsome with fair skin and was also young. Master Cheng was especially unconfident. Although he didn't think about anything between him and Sister Hong, he still felt a little inferior at this moment. Little Mao looked at Master Cheng and said softly, Master Cheng, what are you thinking about? Master Cheng glared at him. What can I be thinking about? What can I fucking think about? As he said that, he stared at the pretty boy as if he wanted to stare him to death. Little Mao thought to himself that he was just a stubborn duck. If Master Cheng didn't have any thoughts about him, he would write his name backwards. Sister Hong also saw them and said to Jack, All right, go back to your place first. I'll contact you later. Jack was a young and handsome lad. His smile was as bright as the sun, and his white teeth were very attractive. After saying goodbye to Sister Hong, Jack left. Sister Hong, and the auntie brought little Yu over to Master Chung. "You're here?" Master Chung was startled. He looked at his son, and then stared at Sister Hong. "Yes, I'm here." He carried little Yu over and laughed. "My son has grown so big. Come, let Daddy give you a kiss." In the past few years, Lu Hong had only been seen by him and his son on the Video 1 channel. They didn't even talk to each other. This woman was really ruthless. Now that she saw her son, she could touch him. What a fragrant child. Master Chung couldn't bear to let go. Little Yu didn't resist, but he was obviously a little shy. He laid on Master Cheng's shoulder and didn't make a sound. Sister Hong looked at him quietly. The auntie beside her looked at her and wanted to say something but stopped. Master Chung didn't notice the interaction between the two of them. He was still immersed in the great joy of seeing his son. He kissed him again and again, but it wasn't enough. Then, he carried his son and walked towards the exit. Master Chung held onto his cane with one hand and carried his son with the other without any difficulty. What a joke Master Chung was. He had a lot of strength. Back then, he could carry his mother with one hand without any problem. Needless to say, he was very popular. Little Yu knew that this was his father, so he didn't make a sound. He shyly laid on Master Cheng's shoulder and stared at his mother with his bright black eyes like a nestling. Sister Hong whispered to the auntie, "Let's not talk about it for now." She was very happy to see Master Chung, so saying it now would only dampen his mood. Mr. Chung had been missing his child for the past few years, but Miss Lu's life had not been good either. She had been accompanying her child to seek medical treatment. During her days abroad, she had to go to the hospital twice a week. Her child was already afraid of the hospital, which had become a conditioned reflex. When they reached the parking lot, Master Chung placed the child in the back seat and even attentively fastened his seatbelt. "You must pay attention to traffic safety. Son, there's a saying that if the traffic isn't regulated, the relatives will cry." Little Yu smiled. He looked a little shy, and he looked especially delicate and cute. Master Chung was a rough man, so he couldn't help but love him. He kissed him and said, "Good boy." He was deliberately polite to Sister Hong. "Come, the two of you sit in the back too. This car is very spacious." In order to pick up his son, Master Chung drove a flashy Lincoln stretch limousine. It was as extravagant as before. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.